Yep.
I think it's gonna be.
All right, good evening and welcome to the September 2nd, 2025 Selectmen Meeting. First up on the agenda, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My high school days.
All right, first up, we will do the Municipal Officers Workshop Business Public Hearings. We're gonna have a joint public hearing with the Planning Board on an ordinance to amend Chapter 145 Land Use of the Code of the Town of Wells to update provisions relating to accessory dwelling units, ADUs. Meeting here, who wants to?
So I think you'll have to open and they'll have to.
Yeah, I wanna make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we open the workshop.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0.
I need a motion.
Okay, we'll make a motion that we open the public hearing for the planning board.
Second. All those in favor? It's unanimous.
Alright. Alright, first up, Mike's gonna start us off, alright?
If you'd like me to, I could give
No,
a
I
quick
love you too, Mike.
Thanks. The first public hearing for tonight
is on a zoning ordinance change proposal that would be on the November ballot. The first ordinance change has to do with
accessory dwelling units. And this is a response to becoming into compliance with state statute LD 2003. Plus there were some other changes that were proposed as well that go beyond the statute, but the planning board and the board of selectmen workshop and discussed. The definition of accessory dwelling unit is being revised, updated. Definition of owner occupied is being added. Additions to include two-family and multifamily dwellings is included in the ordinance change as well. Currently, an ADU cannot be placed on a non-conforming lot of record. That would be allowed with these ordinance changes. Owner occupation is still required, but it can be either in the ADU unit or the principal dwelling unit. There's been a proposed increase in size. Currently, an ADU can only be 600 square foot, and that would go up to 800 square foot. There is a minimum size for a ADU by the state statute of 190 square foot. It's also being proposed to have a minimum square footage for a detached ADU of 400 square foot. And I should say detached ADUs would be allowed. Currently, they're not. The ordinance would be revised to allow those. And also, there's a proposed restriction that a rental period or occupancy period of not less than 12 months be required for an ADU. For a little background, the ordinance changes have been discussed by both the planning board and the board of selectmen for probably about a year and a half. This version of the ordinance was originally developed by the town attorney and then modified after last January by the planning board and board of selectmen to make additional changes.
Alright, thank you, Mike. At this time, this is a public hearing. Any members of the public like to comment on this topic? Seeing none, take a motion to close the public hearing, we'll have a discussion.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Sorry about that.
It's moved in second, all those in favor?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. All those in favor?
Alright, we'll have a discussion, any questions or discussion?
Yeah, I do have a
Yeah.
question. Okay, it's just, I just want a clarification, make sure, because on the number 10, which is it says accessory dwelling units and the principal dwelling unit, it begins with that sentence. And it says these dwelling units can be leased or occupied by persons other than an owner for a period owner occupant for a period of less than 12 months. Yeah, therefore none of these dwelling units can be leased, is what I'm saying, is what it says, right? Okay. You know, a lot of times the mother-in-laws, the in-laws apartment, I mean, they go to Florida for, 6 or 7 months. then they come back for the summer, does that mean they're not gonna be able to do that?
Oh, this is just gonna be there, they just can't lease it to somebody
So
short-term.
occupied means furniture occupation?
Yeah,
Oh,
you just gotta make sure that they're not taking them, renting them for short-term rentals for, people on the beach. All of a sudden putting in two ADUs or an ADU on a piece of property down there and instead of renting it year round, renting it for, weekly.
I think maybe would there be because I know one of the things that we had discussed at the last meeting was like the situations with like seasonal workers and teachers and traveling nurses. So is there a number that might be more lenient than 12 months but still prevent short-term like Airbnb style rentals?
So you could rent a unit for say September through October, March. And you could rent it for the 6 months that it covers the beach time as far as summer goes.
Mhm.
And also, I mean, to me, auxiliary dwelling units was drafted by the state to help with the shortage of housing for people, right? So that people could build housing for them.
Mhm.
So if I'm a family and I wanna get a 12-month rental and I'm gonna get kicked out after 6 months, what good is it?
Would you get, it would be a minimum though, right? You wouldn't necessarily be kicked
Right.
out? Like
But-
how would that work?
So what if they rent it to me from January to June 30th?
Hmm.
Then I gotta get out June 30th to find another place to take my family? That just doesn't seem to be in spirit with what the language of the state was trying to do, create additional housing for families.
That's a good point. Is,
And the other thing is we shouldn't be confusing accessory dwelling units with short-term rentals.
Hmm.
These are units that are converted to have an accessory dwelling unit. So we should, that's meant to be long-term rentals.
Mhm.
So any of those should be long-term rentals, period.
And as far as your question, Kathy, yes, to me, if my parents are living in my ADU, that's where they'd stay, that's their place all year round. Even though they go to Florida
Okay.
for 4 or 5 months,
It's
it's still their
their
unit.
furniture and everything, yeah.
but it doesn't say that here. So is there someplace else that it says that?
Well, it doesn't have to, because what they're saying is that if your parents go to Florida for 6 months, you don't rent it those 6 months.
But it says
You've already rented to your
leased or
parents.
occupied for a period of not less than 12 consecutive months. That, and
Still
I'm
leased, like you
I'm
said.
not saying that isn't, that the intent is to have these people not do it. I'm just saying that if somebody wanted to do it, somebody would look at this and say, guess what, that's not what it says.
The way I understand that is, normally in-laws are not usually paying rent.
It says
Well,
occupied, Jim, that's why
Yeah, but occupied doesn't mean you have to be there 12 months of the year. Occupied means it's available to only you for that 12 months of the year.
Therefore, none of these dwelling units can be leased or occupied by persons other than the owner occupant for a period of less than 12 consecutive months. It doesn't say accept this or accept that. That's all I'm, because I know these kind of things will come up. Well, what if you have a child that you have to take care of for a while? Or maybe you have your son and daughter that are, maybe their house got burnt. These are exceptions, but guess what? There are exceptions. And we know they happen, and they move into the thing, but they're only gonna be there they aren't gonna be there for a whole year, they're just gonna be there are they not gonna be able to stay there? That's all I ask, is if
No.
this says,
Based off of the example you just gave,
exactly.
at that point, they gotta build it. So unless their house already has an ADU in it.
No, if their house
If
got,
their
someone
house,
got
if their house that
destroyed,
they're moving destroyed and they're moving into, like, say, your house gets destroyed, you decide to move in with me. Not a good idea, but we can do that. Right? You can come in, I'm not gonna have an ADU because at that point I'm giving up a bedroom to you, so it's kinda different. An ADU is like, if
no, if you had an accessory dwelling unit though, and something happened, maybe, and you had your.
at that point, you're giving up whatever you're using an
Right.
accessory dwelling unit for
Well,
already.
Right, so is this forever? Because if you have your in-laws staying there and the in-laws pass away and that happens, and then you have an empty accessory dwelling unit,
Now you can rent it for a
then you
year.
can rent it for a year, but you can't have your kids move in there?
But you could have your kids move in there,
You could
there's
have
no,
your kids move in.
it's family, it's no problem.
Yeah, we're not saying
I see
family.
what you're saying.
The only thing it's
I
saying
see what
is
you're
if
saying,
you,
Kathy, you wanna clear up the
Yeah,
ambiguity of the word occupied.
occupy,
So the question is
It's
the word
leased.
occupied needed?
it should be if leased.
Just leased would do it.
As long as it's leased for 12 months, they don't,
Right, cause that's what you're worried about, them renting it, right?
yeah, I'm looking at it, yeah, there should be no issue with that, right? Taking the word occupied out.
I don't think by having, I see what you're saying, Kathy, I look at it as it's either leased or occupied, right? So they're not necessarily, when I see or, it's either of those two scenarios.
It doesn't say then put either before you do it, because it doesn't say that. I'm saying, when you give an example, you're either, you can do this and it covers this or this. It covers both, this or this. And the intent was to have it cover both.
Yeah, the ors.
Otherwise, we
or
can take out
necessary.
occupied.
Whatever the pleasure of the board is. I mean, I read it one way, other people read it other ways, which is part of the problem,
Problem
right?
of the problem.
So if you are looking for more clarity, just advise you add words either where you think it should be or take out occupied if you feel that that creates a lack of clarity.
I think, right, because unless you're gonna charge your family rent, which won't go over really
I
big.
think what you're saying
Yeah,
is
just
the
take out-
leasing is the
The lease
issue.
is okay,
Yeah,
but the
And the
lease is the
occupied
problem,
thing-
yeah.
I don't think there's any problem for accessory dwelling unit to have an injured child, for instance, happen to come and stay there for 3 months during their recovery. That's not a problem because they're not leasing it.
Right. So, but they're occupying it, so if you take out occupied, then lease is fine.
But then somebody might argue that, well, unless you're leasing it, it can't be occupied, which is absurd, but.
I think you have to leave occupied in there because if it's a family member that's living there and you're not charging them rent, you have to use the word occupied, otherwise, what are we gonna require, a formal lease agreement for your family?
Well, I'm thinking that if you're gonna require a formal lease agreement for people that are in there to prove that they are paying something. If they're not paying something, then why do you care if they're the problem is that we didn't want short-term rentals.
These
What?
are ADUs, not short-term rentals. So they just gotta be available for year-round rental is what it's for.
So these can never become short-term rentals.
That's the idea of it.
I guess I guess it depends on what we wanna classify as short term, right? Because I consider like 6 months to be a long time, right?
Yeah, I think 3 months is like a short-term rental.
Yeah. I think like thinking of it from the perspective of a younger person, like I'm thinking if somebody wants to come take classes at like YCCC, right? And they wanna rent for the period of their semester or their term, but maybe not the whole year. I think we're excluding that use case. And I think there's probably a lot of other edge cases that might be pushed out by a 12-month minimum. And
But I actually agree with you, but I'm gonna argue against you, which is really weird, right?
okay.
I will tell you just from experience in Boston, you have to rent it for 12 months.
Mhm.
Like the student, if you went to BU, you have to rent it for 12 months. And you could say to them, but I'm only gonna be here 6 months. They're like, well, tough luck, our leases has to be 12 months, so you just don't have that choice. With your example, so as much as I'm not really in favor of that, that's just kind of the way it is in a lot of places, is that you have to rent it for 12 months, which stinks. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's a good thing, but.
That makes sense.
The other point of that would be, if it's just for the school year, then it opens it up to a summer rental, which is what we're trying to avoid, we're trying to get the year-round rentals in there. Because there'd be a lower rent based on the entire year for a family to stay there or an individual, so.
Can I make a point that may be helpful or may complicate things further, in which case I apologize. But it's really interesting because number 10, it actually, most provisions don't state what their clear intentions are, if you read the first sentence, it basically says that they're intended to create year-round housing. And housing doesn't matter, in my view, whether it's rented, whether it's occupied. The point is that it's supposed to be year-round, right? And I would hate to think that if you say only lease, that somehow precludes one from having the in-law apartment, which is what these things were intended from the outset, right? So I guess I'm reading that first sentence as informing and modifying the second one, which basically it's housing. It doesn't matter if it's leased or occupied, because if it's occupied by your in-laws or your kids or whomever, it's still housing. But if you think that word occupied, I mean, Kathy, would your concerns be lessened if the second sentence read something like, therefore none of these dwelling units can either be leased or occupied?
Can either be
it's
leased or occupied by persons other than, no, cause it would still be the same
should be
problem.
and.
Your whole point is that you don't want your sick kid or your in-laws to have to be there for.
Right. And I understand that you're looking at this, I don't like, that's fine. But the person who is going to be enforcing this is probably not an attorney. And is probably looking at this and said, this is exactly what it says, so, you can't be here, it's, you gotta,
So I get a question, so it says other than owner occupant, right? So isn't the owner occupant, doesn't that include my extended family, my in-laws, my children? It says it can't, right, so.
you're not owner.
If it didn't, why couldn't you just include that in there?
I'm the owner of the house, my in-laws wanna stay with me, I'm the owner occupant.
Right, so you
So
would have to stay there year round, that's clear that the owner occupant, it says other than an owner occupant. It doesn't say, the owner occupant, right, it says other than.
Couldn't we
Why
just
don't you
put
say
something?
other than an owner occupant or their guests or invitees or something
Couldn't
like
you
that?
just put some language that says both dwellings must be those persons' principal residence,
It's a good point.
something like that?
But it wouldn't be if it was if they were taking care of somebody for a short. I'm not saying that it's not gonna happen, I'm not saying, but you are giving the person who is enforcing this no leeway. And no, you walk in and say, gee, I'm sorry, but this is black and white, says pretty clearly that it's supposed to be this way. And we're fine, we might understand that maybe it doesn't quite mean that, or you can leave your furniture or whatever that we're saying now. But it doesn't say any of that. 5 years from now, 6 years from now, when those of us don't wanna be still here doing this kind of thing maybe, someone else is going to be sitting in the seat as code enforcement or, as, anything else. And they're gonna be only looking at this, never knowing what this discussion was.
Why couldn't you just put except for immediate family in there?
Because
Well, sometimes it might not
Might
be,
not be
and
immediate.
maybe your best friend.
friend
had
got
an
hurt
injury.
and they wanna stay there for a while.
Wouldn't,
Why
I
just
think
take out
that-
occupied?
I think the purpose of this number 10 is only limit leasing. If that's correct, the word should be and, not or. Leased and or occupied, if you wanted to say it that way, but.
If the thing you're trying to get at is allowing the owner occupant to have their family members or guests there.
Yeah.
It seems to me that we don't need to worry so much about the leased or occupied, but rather you can say something like, and we can be more elegant in it, but just go with it. Go with me here, walk with me, won't you? Therefore, none of these dwelling units can be leased or occupied by persons other than an owner occupant or their family members or guests who occupy the dwelling unit without compensation or without remuneration or something like that. If that's what you're trying to get at, maybe we don't worry about the and or occupied lease, but rather, if this is your place, then you can have your own family or guests so long as you're not getting paid for it.
That
Right,
sounds
so that's why if you take out occupied and just leave leased, that takes care of that.
How are you gonna prove they're not getting paid for it?
How can you prove
Well-
that they've been there longer than 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my biggest points here, and I support this, but there's gonna be no who's enforcing any of these?
Nobody's gonna enforce it because it's an
We just make the
apartment.
rule.
The only time you're gonna enforce it is when the neighbor's complaining because people are moving in and out every weekend. That's when you're gonna have the enforcement issues.
Right, and or if the neighbor doesn't like the neighbor and they know that their family is staying there and they shouldn't be, that happens too. You know, so I'm,
Yeah, but
But
if the people are staying there, they can stay there as long as, if they move out in 6 months, they move out in 6 months, what are they gonna do? I mean, you can't force a tenant to stay. I mean, I rent my apartments for a year at a time, 3 months in, the girl called me up and said to me, I have to move. What am I gonna do? Take her to court? You're not gonna, you know, save any money, the tenant moves on, that's it. It's just trying to stop people from putting an ADU on and renting it 3 weeks, a week, and so forth and so on, like a short-term rental, because these are supposed to be giving housing. And a lot of people are gonna try and do them with short-term rentals.
and I agree with that. I agree that that's what you're trying to do. I agree that that's what we should be doing. But I don't agree that this covers the exceptions on the, if it's all you care about is you're not gonna be giving it to people for 2 or 3 weeks at a time for free. You are gonna be renting it, you are gonna be leasing it for that. But you're not gonna be spending it on your family that might need help or friends that might need help. They're not gonna be renting or whatever, so,
Yeah, but nobody's gonna call on you and complain on you if you have somebody in there. They don't know how long they're gonna be there. They want, if you have somebody come in today and they spend 3 weeks and then move out, and then next week somebody else comes in for 4 weeks and then moves out, that's what we're trying to stop. But if you have your son or daughter come in and they need help and they stay there 3 months, nobody's gonna say anything about that. Because your son and daughter need help, but if your son and daughter move in one day, and then somebody else moves in 3 weeks later and somebody else moves in a week later, you've turned it into a
so no one
short-term rental.
ever calls, and when you get there, you find out that's not the case?
I don't know.
Is that true?
We shouldn't get so concerned about enforcement because we understand there's an enforcement issue anyway. We should be concerned about setting the rules so that
Right.
when people make these, build these accessory dwelling units, they know the intention clearly. And I think that the wording such as Leah suggested would do it.
As long as there gives some gray to this black and white right here.
Like you suggested.
Do we want gray or do we want more black and white? I think I just wanna make sure I understand the intention.
Gray is a dangerous
Okay,
line.
dark gray,
Light black.
But I
yeah,
think,
light black.
I think making it clear that if you're not getting paid for it,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal.
It's not a
Okay,
big
so
deal.
I can do some real-time edits. Okay, so can I just read out what I think?
Yep.
Accessory dwelling units and the principal dwelling unit, 2-family dwelling unit and multifamily dwelling unit are intended to create year-round housing. Therefore, none of these dwelling units can be leased or occupied by persons other than an owner occupant or their family members or guests who just occupy the dwelling unit without remuneration or compensation.
Okay, that's
That
good,
works for me.
Okay.
Is family members even necessary? Would that
No.
count as guests?
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, but do you still have it in there for the 12 months?
She's just putting that,
Just adding that, they're guests who occupy the dwelling unit without compensation
I'm happy with that.
for the.
yep,
blah, blah,
perfect,
Sounds good.
Okay.
that sounds good, thank you very much, Stuart.
Sure, pleasure.
I got one. I don't feel like this is gonna make me any friends, but I wanted to circle back to that parking. I assume that the intent of this ordinance is to stick with our version of what the parking is right now, being tied to the amount of bedrooms. I think the state was very clear on that. We had language that was in the proposed warrant article the proposed article to go onto the June ballot. I think we need to stick with that, frankly, because if we don't, we're gonna be in violation of state law. We're gonna take up a fight that we can't win, we're gonna lose. It's not gonna be fighting the state, it's gonna be fighting somebody that lives in this community. And we're just gonna throw taxpayers' money away fighting that. I think there are other ways for advocacy that we should pursue. I don't think we should dig our heels in on that.
So you're talking about number 7 then?
Okay.
So I think Mike has found that part of that original information that you had is incorrect. Mike, can you address that?
I have to, before my go, not to cut you off, I have to disagree. The picture that the state sent out was very clear. It left no room for interpretation on it. Very, very clear, but.
Well, I think the diagram that the guidance document that was published by the state is specific to if a town only requires 2 parking spaces per dwelling. And the example they show is that if a dwelling unit requires 2 parking spaces, you can't require a third for adding an ADU. In most towns, that is the standard requirement, is 2 parking spaces for every dwelling. The town of Wells has always required additional parking if our old ordinance more than a year ago required an additional half space for every bedroom beyond 4. We changed that last year so that we require a parking space for every bedroom. So that's what we require for a regular dwelling unit, any dwelling unit. So our ordinance is not the same as the guidance document that was published and the diagram they provided. The law just says that an accessory dwelling unit may not be subject to any additional parking requirements beyond the parking requirements of a single-family dwelling unit on the lot where the accessory dwelling unit is located. The law does not say you are limited to 2 parking spaces for a dwelling.
Counsel?
I have to agree with you on this one, John. I agree that the law does not say you're limited to 2, but I don't think that's what the intention was. I think the intention, again, please don't shoot the messenger, but we know that the underlying purpose of LD 2003 is to create more housing, to make it easier to have these ADUs. And I think the intention here, based on, my understanding and hearing these information sessions from economic development, DCD, was basically that, you can't require anything additional than if you have a single family unit there, whether it's 2 parking spots or 3 parking spots, you can't require anything more for the ADU. I agree with that interpretation, John. Again, we're still in uncharted territory. If it were challenged, maybe, it has happened before that I have been wrong. My son is more than happy to tell me that. So it is, it's not a slam dunk, but I do think were it to be challenged, the more likely scenario would be the interpretation, John, that you're talking about.
Would the spirit of that challenge fall under the same thing for number 10? Where we're imposing that also on the single family?
Well, okay, so first and what I will say is that we gotta look at 2 boxes. LD 2003, which was enacted like a long time ago, right? So I think that under LD 2003, there is no restriction on owner occupancy. Enter LD 1829 that was just enacted and becomes law. Now, there's always a caveat, so bear with me here. This thing was in 1829, which actually has many even more stringent requirements and limitations on home rules, says now you cannot impose owner occupancy requirements. Now, to be clear, although that law goes into effect I think the 24th of September, towns that are town meeting towns actually have until July 1st, 2027 to comply with that. So if you enact this owner occupancy thing, if this current law is not stricken, it will have to be updated by July 2027.
You
So
can't mandate that it has to be owner occupied,
you can for the next couple of years, but
other than that.
and again, who knows what's gonna happen as of July 1st, 2027? There could be lots of changes in the law. But I guess what I'm saying is that this change right now is legal as far as I'm concerned. It won't be in July 2027 if the law has not changed since then.
So Lee, I'd like to go back to the parking issue for a minute. And if you have an attached ADU.
Yep.
Okay, and the town's rule is that you have to have 1 space per bedroom. By saying if that ADU has a bedroom, then I don't think there's any court that's gonna.
I think we're just gonna have to respectfully disagree on this one, because I think that the intention was clear here. Again, do I think it makes sense? That's not what I'm here to tell you. I'm telling you, I think what the law is intended to do is to make these ADUs easier, to make the housing stock easier to build, and I think that's what it means. But
Has there been any challenge to Mike's version of it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
There
so no one, are there other towns that have that version?
I think the versions that I'm aware of simply parrot what the state law says.
And then it could be interpreted differently.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean,
So if we put in exactly what the state law says.
exactly, and I think that's what we had talked about
Well,
way
right,
back at
way
the
back,
workshops,
right.
and then it can be interpreted.
Interpreted the way we.
Right.
Okay, so,
And there's nothing stopping an owner of one of the, if you build an ADU and you feel like, oh, I don't have enough parking spots and I don't want my driveway blocked up, right? There's nothing stopping them from just building more.
No, unless there's like impervious lot coverage issues, which I'm sure Jody can talk or Mike can talk about.
Your problem's gonna be down at the beach.
Mhm.
That's where your problem's gonna be.
there is no parking.
We have a major problem down there already and there's no enforcement on the parking. So cars are parked out in the street, parked in front. You can't walk down the street in the summertime. You're gonna make that all winter long with snow and everything else. I mean, you have to do something for the parking.
Well, you just have to have, I mean, if it went in and it was an
But
issue,
we-
you just have to have a
We
rule.
can't say, let's follow state law because we know that the spirit of it was to create housing, so we're gonna limit it to 12 months. And then turn around and say, but we don't wanna follow this part of the state law that says you have to have I can't agree with that.
Then
Because
how are
you
we
just
gonna handle the
argued,
parking?
you argued state law, you just argued
right.
state law, and now you're arguing,
Right.
we don't wanna follow it anymore.
Well, we've changed our ordinance so that we could stop the houses putting 5 bedrooms down there and not having parking spaces for it. Now you're gonna put complete dwelling units down there. And I mean, out back isn't a problem, it's all gonna be, it's gonna be east of the turnpike. So what's gonna end up happening is you're gonna have nothing but city streets with people parking on the side of them and, and it's gonna be terrible. It's, the issues are there already.
I argued against it for 2 years at the State House and this law, I understand that, Dave, but we didn't win. It is what it is. So but my point is, you can't say one way for one rule of 12 months and then turn around and say another way because we disagree
Okay.
with what the state says.
And
I
Kathy, just
don't-
to be clear, I don't think, the interpretation is still there. The language that appears, I think in the, and Mike, you'll
It
correct me
says
if I'm
that,
wrong,
doesn't
says
it?
exactly
Say
what the
it says.
statute.
So then we
says.
should leave it and then we worry about interpretation.
think
And if
that's
you
what-
interpret
yes,
that way,
yes.
then let them come tell you.
I think that was the guidance that you had come up with. As I see what is before me, it tracks the state statute exactly. Mike, you're nodding your head.
Number 7 in the ordinance
Yes.
is basically a quotation of the state statute.
Right, right. So it doesn't, I mean, this interpretation, we can still have this argument or debate or, dialogue going forward. But what I'm saying is that this
This
tracks
is exactly
the
what the state
statute.
law says.
As long as we're good on that and that's what the state verbiage is.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine, that's good. Steve, did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, it's not like you can leave your furniture there.
Interpretation,
Yeah.
and I think it'll come down the road, I mean, and I
Yep.
think we'll find out that
Yeah, exactly.
that what Mike and I were talking about is correct, and that things are different than what they may seem, but we'll just have to go down that road and see.
So it's okay as is then. John?
Yeah, as long as it tracks with state language, because I mean, our job's not, to, we're not code enforcement officers. As
Right.
long as our language is in conformance with state standard, I'm comfortable.
Okay,
That makes sense.
Okay,
any other questions?
so the only change we really have is the one that you're writing?
Yep.
And it just does it take anything out here, or does it just gets added?
I will read you what I have just to make sure we're all on the same page. So in subsection 10, it will read, accessory dwelling units and the principal dwelling unit, two-family dwelling unit and multifamily dwelling are intended to create year-round housing. That does not change. And the second sentence, I've added something, I have not subtracted anything, as follows.
Yep.
Therefore, none of these dwelling units can be leased or occupied by persons other than an owner occupant or their guests who occupy the dwelling unit without compensation for a period of less than 12 consecutive months.
Yeah, if somebody has a property like this right now, currently, once this change goes into effect, if they're currently short-term renting,
Yep.
they won't be able to.
I don't think you know, I hate answering questions in isolation, but if somebody has already been doing something lawfully, that's the big kicker, lawfully. So we'd have to look at what is allowed now.
Yep.
Then they would most likely assert a grandfathering, takings kind of argument, so. When it comes to most ordinance changes, and again, there are exceptions always, that it's prospective, not, you can't go back in time.
That's a good question though.
I'm gonna throw a cog, just cause but I just am struggling with the 12 month. Cause I experienced this as with my son, he's building a house in Wells. He needed 6 months, not from me, I don't have an accessory dwelling unit. You know what I mean, I don't have anything, you know what I mean, so he had to rent I know another teacher at Wells that's building in the new workforce housing. She needed a place for a few months while the house got ready. I don't understand what 6 months is gonna do that 12 months does, you know what I mean, I don't understand that. Tell me who's renting for 6 months short term, that's not short term. My doctor left in 4 months, and you know, I mean, he had to go, cause he was losing he would've liked the 6 months, you know, I mean, we have people in this town that need that space for 6 months sometimes.
So at that point, Tim, we kinda go back to where if you have a college student in Boston, the lease is
No,
the lease is for a year.
Right.
It is what it is, right? So
But the
again, you're
point-
at 12 months.
Alright, go tell that 22-year-old what that we're trying to make affordable housing for here in Wells, that we always talk about through our face, which never comes true, that, hey, sorry, you gotta go find somewhere else to live for 6 months and while you build your house. And it's not gonna be in Wells, it'll be somewhere else, I just.
Right, but at
6
that
months
point, they can
doesn't make a
rent, they can
difference.
rent for the 6 months and leave after the 6 months.
Right.
It's almost using the same example that you
It's gonna
gave.
keep increasing costs to the people that are trying to live in this town, right? If that's what we're gonna do, that's the spirit of the board.
I totally get your guys' your arguments for the 12 months. But I agree with Tim, I think I would be more comfortable with 6 months, but if it's the majority
Yeah.
feels that what a year is good.
Well,
I like 6 months.
if we go back to where we are now, I think the planning board originally suggested 6 months and we changed it to 12.
Is that accurate?
Yes, it
Well-
is.
Let's just slap our hands and go with 6 months.
I could go with 6 months.
I support that.
Okay, I go with 6 months.
How do you guys feel about that? Do you?
I think it should be-
Purpose.
I honestly think it should be no less than 30 days, to be honest, cause that's a short-term rental.
Yeah, that's thank you.
I mean, a rent is 30 days.
I'm not willing to go that short.
If
I'm the
family-
minority thought on that.
I could go as low as like 3 months even,
I'll go as low as 6.
The spirit of compromise, 6 is.
6.
If I'm a family, you sort of force me to sign 2 6-month leases and hopefully they don't raise the rent on me during the summer period.
No, it just means that the minimum that they can rent for is 6 months, doesn't mean that they only can rent 6 months at a time.
They could have a fine.
Right, if you book it for a year, you got it for a
You are-
year.
Yeah, I mean, these are apartment rentals, they're not short, they're not vacation
Well,
rentals.
it also-
Hopefully,
also-
they're not gonna be vacation rentals.
It also applies to the house too.
We have a great
Once you
resource
do
right here
this,
though.
both properties are falling under this.
The whole underlying issue with this is the economics of it, right? We have a good resource right here. You're a realtor. A 6-month lease and a 12-month lease. Are you gonna get any more for a 6-month lease and a 12-month lease on average?
I mean, those aren't gonna be any different than a 30, once you get into short term, that's really when it's gonna make a
Right.
difference. Yeah.
So and really outside of an economic value, how would it be beneficial to somebody that was looking to rent to have a 6-month lease over a 12-month lease? If you couldn't get any more money for it, the economics weren't that different.
It's really weekly versus monthly.
You could make the same argument that you could rent it so that you end up with a summer period under one of the 6-month periods and you could charge more for that 6 months, even though the people may only stay for 3.
And they do that now, they do off-season rentals on a lot of the houses on the beach.
Right.
They cut the rental market in the winter time for everybody, and then they turn around in the summertime, they jack it up again.
But the short-term rental issue is short-term rentals. You know, so a 6 month is not short-term, so even if somebody booked the summer month for, and that's been years that way, winter rentals are always cheaper. And, a lot of the kids that just graduate, they take a winter rental because it's half the price and they can still be at the beach. But I'm just saying, 6 months for the whole summer, you don't have people coming and going all the time, that was the
Well,
problem.
I think the point Dave was trying to make is if you have it for 12 months, yeah, you may get someone that leaves after 6 months, that may happen. But then every time you cut it down to 6 months, then you got someone saying, well, I rent it for 6 months, but really the 3 months are in the summer that I want, so that's what I want. So then I stay 3 months, they got another 3 months to rent it, so it's kinda, the more you cut it down, the more you're gonna have people skirting the law.
And you're all applying it just to the beach in your discussion instead of saying, wait a minute, this is town-wide. If I'm a family trying to get a rental for 12 months for my family, and I say that the landlord only wants to give me 6, and then at the end of 6 months, he gets somebody that wants to pay a little more money, kick me out. I mean, the whole idea was to create affordable housing with the law that they passed. It's,
I see what you're saying.
I just don't see why
Is,
you wanna keep cutting down the length of the term.
I'd like to move that we take the provision for rentals from 12 months and move it to 6 months.
You wanna second it?
I would second that.
What's been moved in second? I kinda liked having the discussion, but.
Well, you got a
Well, you can
second,
still
you have
have-
a discussion.
We can still have
Alright,
a
let's have a
discussion,
discussion.
but that's laying there, that's what we have to
Yeah, alright.
remember.
So I guess the only thing that, I agree with your point, I don't disagree with it at all, I think you make a good point, but I also don't think that we can negate the need for those 6-month rentals, because you do have a seasonal workforce, I mean, I don't care what job you're in unless you work for the Navy Yard or whatever, most of the jobs in the area are seasonal. Your busy season pretty much runs from April until November, so, there's 6-7 months right there.
So, I have a question, we're addressing auxiliary dwelling units, right?
Right,
Not rental property.
well, but this could be utilized for that.
Or they would rent their house.
It's not the intent.
Yes, it was, it specifically included workforce housing, specifically.
Brian, is there some way we could address, like, I get your concern about like having somebody rent and then being unfairly evicted, right? Is there another way we could go about like putting some kind of renters protections in without limiting the timeframe?
I don't think you have time to do that
No.
before the
But, and
session vote.
you're not evicting somebody that's under 6-month lease,
Right.
they know going in that they might not get re-upped on that 6, so it's not really a re-eviction, it's just.
You could,
And then there's the fact of the matter that once a renter is in there, as long as they continue paying rent, whether it's, they don't renew their lease or not, they're basically in there.
could you still sign a 12-month lease, or is that not how it works?
You can still sign it 12 months.
Yeah, that's not preventing 12 months.
I just wanna bring up another perspective that is maybe more west of 95, or what we see in some other towns with this, having to do with how it works with more sales side of it, cause we talked a lot about the rental side of it. With the lack of housing that we have in the state, it's affecting a lot of the seniors being able to downsize. What these ADUs have allowed to do, and I've seen this almost more than some of these other scenarios, is that it allows the senior to build on their own property, maybe a single family or a single floor house or ADU, so they can then move into that ADU, which then allows the more bigger family home to be available for sale, which then increases the stock of homes for people to be able to get into, making that more available. Not only does it then make it available, it makes that home more affordable, because the family that's moving into that house, maybe their mortgage payment is gonna be, we'll use easy numbers, $3,000 a month. But that person who moved into the ADU is gonna pay them $1,000 a month to live in the ADU after they've sold the property to them. Now their mortgage is going to be $2,000 a month because they have money coming in. So it's making that new home that they just bought more affordable to live in, and the overall property value has gone up because it has both those
And
properties.
thus creating more
It's creating more housing stock,
housing
and it's allowing people to get unstuck from their housing situations, because right now, somebody can't downsize because there aren't homes available, and families can't upsize because there aren't houses available. So it's allowing that to happen without changing anyone's lives really, because they're just moving to the other side of their yard.
That's a
But
good
and even
point.
if they wanted to do that, and they moved into the ADU, they could rent that to a family that wants to move in for a long-term
And
rental.
they could do it with a rental too.
And they could do that rental that way, I mean, so that is a
Yep,
a
either
really
rent
good
it or
idea.
sell it.
And that's why we were pushing for the 12 months, because that makes a year-round rental rather than somebody doing short terms. Because companies are buying these houses up and doing the short-term rentals out of them. You know, they'll think nothing of doing 6 months. If you put it at 6, if you put it at 3, they'll do 3 months. So, and I guess the new law makes it so that they don't have to be owner occupied, either of them. 18, what's it, 18?
18.
Yeah, it says it doesn't have to be owner occupied, so when that comes in, that's just gonna open up these houses to be bought by, you know, major corporations and turning them to, you know, if it's a 3-month
So-
rental, it's a 3-month rental.
So you think going from 12 to 6 is gonna make that difference?
Yeah, because they'll buy it and still rent it for 6.
Yeah.
But if they have to buy it and rent it for 12, it's a little bit different for them than to go after the short-term rental market.
Well, some of this could be solved probably through our short-term rental
Yeah,
conversations we're having.
if you want the 6 months, that's where you put it, is the short-term rentals.
I feel pretty strongly that the size unit that you're gonna get for an ADU is the right size for a short, like an employee that's only here for a couple of months. That's a good perspective. I didn't, cause that makes sense, right? Like something the size of an ADU is not something that a big family is gonna be able to move into, but that's a good point.
But it still brings us back to 6 months, you know, that might be great on the inside, and I would think that that with a bigger house, you're probably not likely, but you could still do it for 3 months, I guess, or 6 months, but I still think that's more likely to be an affordable housing rental. And not a short term.
And it wouldn't preclude that situation, right, where the owner would wanna move into the ADU and rent or
Well.
No, this is either one, occupant, owner
This is the
occupant.
either one, yeah, so that's.
This already says that.
Yeah, so that was my kind of irk with that, was that we are kind of penalizing doing this setup by changing how the structure of the property is by making it an ADU. You may find people who are like, well, I'm not gonna do that because it changes what I can do with my property, because it can't be rented out at that point.
okay.
So we're stuck on the 6 month or not stuck, we have a,
It's been moved and seconded, so eventually we're still in discussion.
Just a procedural point, you know, it was a joint public hearing, and the procedure, the first to act should be the planning board to act on the ordinance change and make a recommendation to the board of selectmen, and then the board of selectmen have the ultimate authority to put whatever you want
So
on the
we,
ballot.
the buck stops with us.
Thank you.
Planning board's action is just to make a recommendation to the board of selectmen, make the final.
Alright, so.
So in that event,
You have to be-
because of that procedural thing, I'll withdraw my motion. If the second withdraws,
I'll withdraw that.
So
The
it's
motion's
gone.
been withdrawn, Cindy. What?
I'm not gonna make that motion, so. I wanna keep it at 12.
You can make a motion that we keep it at 12.
So alright, I'll make the motion that we keep the rental period at 12 months
Second. With the new language.
with a new language, yes.
Okay, so we have a motion. All those in favor?
Yeah, we've recommended that you remain at the 12 months with the latest change in language.
Okay.
so now I'll remake my motion for 6 months.
And accepting the
Everything
With
else.
it- with the-
same
with
thing,
the changes
and with
that we
these
asked.
changes, okay. Okay, second,
Moved and seconded, all those in favor of the 6 months? 5-0, Cindy.
okay, that was fun.
Then I think the next action, the board of selectmen has to.
Oh, move it forward, wait a minute, yeah,
To
okay, I
move,
can do that.
to vote to move it forward, right?
Alright. So we have to move to close the public hearing. We did that already, so okay. I move to vote to move the proposed ordinance amendments as amended to the certification and warrant signing phase to be voted by secret ballot on November 4th, 2025.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? 5-0, Cindy. All right, next up, we have a joint public hearing with the planning board on ordinance to amend chapter 201, streets and sidewalks of the code of town of Wells to expand where sidewalks are required and to revise sidewalks requirements. Take a motion to open.
I make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Move in second, all in favor? 5-0.
I make a motion to reopen the public hearing on sidewalk ordinance.
Second.
All those in favor?
Didn't she have the affordable housing?
So
Oh, did I miss
just
it?
so you know.
Yeah, we
I'm
skipped
sorry,
over,
I'm
that's why I
sorry.
was, that's why I was hesitating to say wait.
My fault, my fault.
You guys.
Can we just, we have to go back now?
No, we just go back afterwards.
All right, can we stay on the sidewalks and then go back?
Let's
Sorry,
stay on the
my fault, my
sidewalks.
fault. We'll just go back.
All right.
I was excited about the sidewalks, I guess. Mike, do you wanna kick it off and then we'll open to the public for comment?
Yes, the changes to the sidewalk ordinance include some of the following. The current sidewalk ordinance requires a commercial development to install sidewalks in a certain portion of Route 1 and along Sanford Road. Along Sanford Road is from the train station to the intersection with Route 1, and along Route 1 it's from the library to Drake's Island Road. So those are the existing areas where when the commercial development comes in, they have to either build a sidewalk or contribute money towards the sidewalk development fund. The changes are to update the area where sidewalks are required to include the whole Route 1 corridor area that was part of the Route 1 corridor thing that DOT and the town did. Also to include Chapel Road and College Drive. Those are the other two roads that are considered as part of that large federal and Maine DOT potential project to be happening in the next few years. So it expands the sidewalk area to all of Route 1 and, as I said, Sanford Road to the train station and those other two roads. Ordinance also includes changing the sidewalk construction standards. Right now, in the Route 1 area and in the Sanford Road area, a person would have to install pavers. So an underlying base and then paver surface. It would change to stamped concrete is the current proposal for the ordinance change. I know that's something that's been discussed. Also includes the elimination of the contribution to the sidewalk construction fund. So if the development is to happen on those roads, they would have to physically build the sidewalk versus contributing to the fund. Also, it includes the inclusion of a new dwelling unit as required to add sidewalk to the front of the property. We don't have a lot of vacant lots on Route 1 or Sanford Road, but there are a few. If someone built a new dwelling on one of those lots, they would have to install a sidewalk in the proposed ordinance changes.
Does that include ADUs?
That'd be an ADU, it's an accessory dwelling unit, it's not a full dwelling unit. I want a principal dwelling unit, I guess should be the term I used there. It could include the full tear down of the dwelling, the existing dwelling, if it got torn down, and rebuilt, that would trigger sidewalk. If the lot was big enough to add a dwelling unit to it, a full dwelling unit, if it had enough area density wise, then that would trigger sidewalk as well. So that's just a quick summary of the ordinance changes.
All right, I'd like to open up the public, if anybody has any comments or questions on this. Now's your time.
I'll just say real quickly, more sidewalks sounds like a great benefit to the future. I know, especially in the summer, tons of people like the capability to walk around the town, and so I think that would be a great improvement.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Can I ask a procedural question?
Yes.
Are we supposed to make motions to open the public hearing?
I thought we did.
Yeah, we did. I think we
I
did.
did both.
We did?
Yeah,
Okay.
he did the side, we skipped
Oh,
over
that's
the
right.
other.
I skipped over, but I did still did the motion. Any other comments from the public? Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0.
Any questions, comments from anybody here?
I think it's super. I Mike, you alluded to the questions about the materials. I guess the question that came up for me last time was the Route 1 corridor study includes the side path, the multi-use path, as well as the sidewalks. And I'm pretty sure that would be different material than what they do a sidewalk with, right? So do we have to specify that, include like its own definition for multi-use path as opposed to a sidewalk, or how would that work?
Whether a sidewalk is directly next to the travelway with curbing, or whether there's a grass esplanade and then a walkway, that would all be considered sidewalk.
Okay.
You could certainly consider other materials other than the stamped concrete. You could go with regular concrete. I think it was brought up at a previous workshop, maybe just doing asphalt.
Yeah. Well, from what I've seen from these kinds of bike paths and the multi-use paths, it's almost always either the crushed stone or the asphalt. So I think if we limit to just, like, I like the idea of doing stamped concrete on the sidewalks, but I think if we limit it to just that, and that might hurt DOT's ability to do the trail that they're planning. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think your comment on crushed stone, you'll see like the Eastern Trail, a lot of portions of the Eastern Trail are crushed stone. I think as part of the big federal and state project, they're gonna want a hardened surface in these areas because they'll require year-round maintenance by the town once they're constructed. Eastern Trail doesn't require that, so I think it does have to be a hardened surface. Typically, DOT and feds, they go with just regular concrete. But I think they'd accept asphalt as well, potentially.
Okay.
But I know they do favor concrete. Maybe not stamped concrete, but concrete.
So that would be allowed under this.
Well, the current language would only allow stamped concrete, so if we wanna make an allowance for a standard concrete surface, then that's an amendment or a change you'd wanna talk about tonight.
What do you all think?
What'd you say?
Oh, no, I was just saying, I agree with Avery.
Yeah, it should be stamped.
Well, no, there should be some leeway because he's
Yeah.
talking about multi-use, and if it's going to be a different surface, and
Right.
we'd be right back here if that came in as an issue with the state's plan.
Can we distinguish between multi-use and just regular sidewalks?
You could make a difference that where it's directly curbing and then the sidewalk, it has to be stamped concrete, like you typically see with a lot of the pavers. And when there's an esplanade in between the travelway and the sidewalk, that it could be concrete or pavement.
It would be a good idea to keep it concrete, and the reason that I say that is because Mike mentioned that the town's gonna have to maintain it. Concrete is self-supporting, whereas asphalt is not. And typically sidewalk, the detail for the construction of sidewalks is not similar to the construction of roads. Roads you start 2 feet down, put in aggregate, and then wind up paving it. In sidewalks, you don't do that, so it would rely on the self-supporting strength of the concrete to stand up during winter time.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a good point. Maybe we could base it, I like that idea of doing it based on the curb. But I know there are circumstances where you would have these trails right up against the curb. So maybe instead of that, we could do the width of the path, because instead of like the 5-6 foot sidewalk, a bike path would be more like a 10-foot, I think is what they're proposing, right?
Yeah, the standard sidewalk that's required by federal highway is 5.5 feet wide. So that would be a sidewalk. If it's wider than that, then the category would be more of that multi-purpose.
I'm gonna say that of all the my experience on if it's a sidewalk, definitely concrete. But if it's a multi-use, I think on the Route 1 corridor study, it requires concrete for all sidewalks.
That sounds correct, yes, that would be a standard DOT
For the Route
requirement.
1 corridor study, it would have, the multi-use would also have to be concrete.
So I guess,
That's the
I
way
guess
I.
the only difference would be the stamped concrete versus the regular
Yeah,
concrete,
and the
is that
stamp
correct?
is fine, it's concrete, meets the state requirement. And I will say, stamped concrete is much easier to ride a bicycle on than pavers. And it's not that not much, and actually, I like the stamped concrete better because regular concrete, you get the bump every time, at every crack. I think it's better, quite
You
frankly.
like it better?
I like it better.
Okay.
so on my side, sounds like we're talking sidewalks, you're talking multi-use. So really-
sidewalks and or multi-use.
So at that point, this is just touching on sidewalks. We should probably do something for multi-use paths that would define it, so that way this can go through as is.
That would be its
Then
own thing
It
later.
would be its own thing added on to it.
Right,
That's a good idea.
good point.
That should be a separate, right?
I think as is, this looks good to me.
As long as it's gonna be consistent, the same look all the way, right? We're not gonna have some stamped, some concrete on the sidewalk.
Well, right now, we're gonna have some pavers that have already
Right,
been
I
put in.
know,
And as they replace them, or upgrade, that's what they should be upgraded.
but they're gonna try to make it look more uniform.
Yeah.
And it still has the granite curve. That's okay, perfect.
So here's my question now. That's coming up Route 109 also, right? So does that mean that the town hall's gonna pull out all the pavers that are in front of here and turn it to concrete?
Mhm.
That's good to know.
In a good or a bad way, how do you feel?
Well, that whole area is gonna have to be redone out there. I mean, when they do the pavilion, they'll save some money by not putting pavers down, they'll put.
That's DOT's plan, right, is to widen the whole thing, right?
Yeah, DOT's plan with the conceptual plans they presented as part of the Route 1 corridor study, they were proposing to rebuild all the pavers that are there now.
Nice. So it'll be a paper sale.
You know, there is that, impact to property owners that I described, whether it's commercial development or new dwelling. But all of that, if that project goes forward, because the sidewalk project will move all that.
Oh, that was my other question is, would that apply to both sides of the road or just the side that DOT, okay.
Both sides, if you had a vacant lot you were developing on your side of the road, you'd have to build a sidewalk there, not on the other. But if
Okay.
there's a vacant lot on the other side,
And DOT's not planning to do both sides, right? Only this side of 109.
in a lot of areas, it's both sides,
Really?
for the sidewalks.
On Route 1, I think they're looking at both sides.
Yes.
Okay. But
On 109 only,
I think
one
it's just
side.
this side on 109.
okay.
On 109 currently, the plan is, a requirement is to have sidewalks on both sides.
Okay.
So by our current sidewalk ordinance, if a new development comes in on Sanford Road, either side, they have to put in a sidewalk.
I think that makes sense because there's already, I think, down by Depot Road, there's
Yeah.
some sidewalks
So,
over
yeah.
there already. Yeah.
So there's just not on the joint public hearing notice, but on the actual warrant itself that we're gonna act on later on, there's a back page with a chart. And under Route 1 Transportation Feasibility Study, it's well, on the Area A, US Route 1, it says stamped concrete, and then over here on the right-hand column, it says just concrete. Should we change that to stamped concrete?
Yes, if that's the preference, is to do stamped concrete everywhere to keep a consistency, then we wanna change that to stamped.
So then, we're okay with the concrete thing, I'm gonna bring up something
Yeah, I
else.
think that, yeah,
Yeah.
concrete, yeah.
I had
So,
another question.
We have it, so we would move it the way we've already written it.
Well, but with an amendment to table 5.4.1,
Okay.
that in the Route 1 corridor study area, it could change to stamped concrete versus just concrete.
Okay, 5.4.1. Oh, that's in the,
That's the very last page.
okay.
Can I just ask for clarification, are we on appendix 3 to the special town meeting warrant?
Yeah, this thing's on.
Yeah, but I'm not, I don't see a table, that's what I'm,
it's on the MOB 3.
This one.
oh, I didn't see that, okay, thank you.
Alright, this might be a very basic question, but just to clarify, stamped concrete can be a continuous smooth surface, it doesn't have the like lines in it, or?
It's gonna have joints in it
Or
regardless.
it's gonna have expansion joints in it regardless, but it's not gonna be the picture frame that you would have with a typical sidewalk.
So it'll be a longer stretch between them?
Yeah, and also there's, dozens of different patterns, so, that's something that the DPW director would have to choose the pattern for the town.
Okay,
Pattern and color, two different things, so.
nice. Thank you
And
guys.
that language is in the ordinance to allow the public works director to make those design decisions.
And just for clarification, the edit would be that in that appended table 5.41, right-hand sidewalk pavement should say stamped concrete to be the same as Area A on US Route 1 and Route 1 transportation easement. Thank you.
Oh, this one, 5.41 right here, where it says that. So you would just have everything, all sidewalks would be stamped concrete. Okay.
That's the only place it appears, correct?
So I have a different question. Under 201-41 required for sidewalk construction, section A, section A2 deals with 75% of gross floor area. Explain what that's all about.
That would be, as I briefly touched upon earlier, if you were doing a tear down rebuild on a house. The current language is for an existing building. That would be commercial or residential. So if you were tearing down 75% of the house, which probably end up a full tear down, and you rebuild it, then your trigger is you have to put in a sidewalk. If you're putting on a small addition that doesn't get to that size, you wouldn't have to.
But if you're renovating the inside and it's more than 75% of the square footage, you would have to.
It's for new gross floor area.
No, demolition or alteration of existing building. Item 2.
Yeah, I think,
Yes, that does include interior, and it goes further, it says within the existing perimeter walls of the building. So interior as well, you are correct.
Yeah, okay. So if somebody doesn't, if they have a sidewalk now, they have an outside footprint, they're not changing the outside footprint, they do 75% or more of interior change, they have to put in a sidewalk.
Well, if they have an existing sidewalk, they wouldn't have to, but if
Right,
they
but
have
if-
nothing in front of their lot, they would have to.
I have a
And just a question, why did 75% picked? That was my initial question.
That was language that was similar to the requirement of the ordinance as it's written now. So if you look in the red strikeout, that's right after that section.
Oh,
That's
never
where
mind.
the 75% comes from. Tim, you know.
Yeah, so,
I
once
think I
again,
had something else.
I struggle with the idea that this guy across the street, if he doesn't have a sidewalk in front, buys that land for whatever and wants to build a single family home, we're gonna add $25,000 to $30,000 onto his cost to build a house, just this area.
well, first of all, sidewalks aren't that expensive. So,
That was the price I got, cause I asked, but if they're not, maybe your price is different than the guy that told me, but.
yeah, the sidewalk in front of the house should never cost $25,000. On one of these residential lots anyway, I mean, at least.
Or let's say it's 10, I mean,
The problem though, Tim, is you're asking somebody that is trying to build a business in this town to put a sidewalk in front on Route 1, but people that live in the town don't have to do that, you're putting everything on the backs of the businesses, that's not right. It's only if it's commercial interest, that's not fair. I mean, it's just like design guidelines, when everybody was pushing those, they wanted design guidelines on businesses, but residential houses can build anything they want, that's not fair. So that's, if you live on Route 1 and I don't agree with the remodeling the inside of the building, I think if you tear a house down, that's different.
or
But if you-
109.
Or 109, but I'm just
We're
saying,
talking two giant demographic differences. When I drive up this road right here, there's a lot of homeowners, right?
Yeah.
A lot, less business, more homeowners going this way, that just looking at them probably can't afford let's say it's 10,000. My estimate was high, alright?
but again, I don't believe it should be remodeling. I believe if you're tearing the house down 75%, that's one thing, but if you're remodeling the inside of a building, I don't think you should be making somebody put a sidewalk outside. But if you're tearing the house down and rebuilding, that's part of a major renovation.
can I bring up another topic? Mailboxes. There's nothing in these standards to limit mailboxes being on the sidewalk. And that mailboxes are definitely a problem if they're on a sidewalk. And I know that because I've ridden a lot of places where there's mailboxes on the sidewalks.
That's a good
So shouldn't that be part of a standard, there shall be no mailboxes?
Well, to that point, Jim, years ago, I did the sidewalks down here a couple of times for snow removal. And there was a couple that right in there, it was a nightmare trying to get around them. So from a snow removal standpoint too, that could be a major issue.
So so my question with respect to sidewalks is maybe there's some federal law that requires sidewalks to be X number of inches from the curb or something like that, but if that's sitting on the sidewalk shouldn't be in that location.
Yeah, a mailbox should not be in the sidewalk. It's okay to, if you had the edge of your travel way or curbing and you had like a 3 or 4 foot grass esplanade and then the sidewalk,
That's fine.
you can get a mailbox in that, but a mailbox actually sitting within the sidewalk or on top of the sidewalk, that actually shouldn't be allowed. Because the sidewalk has to be a minimum width to meet federal standards, and if you occupy part of that width with a mailbox, you don't meet the width requirement.
Right, but there's no requirement for new sidewalks being built that no mailboxes be on the sidewalks, that's really my question.
Currently, the ordinance, doesn't specify mailboxes anywhere that I can think of.
Right, that's what I noticed.
You bring up an interesting point, cause we have a lot of our carriers that just drive. We don't really have a lot of carriers that walk,
Yeah.
right?
I've never thought about that. So where we have sidewalks already, where do people put their mailboxes? Is it like,
You know, if there is that grass strip in between, you'll see them there. The post office doesn't like them on the other side of the sidewalk, because they have to get out of the vehicle to deliver mail. A lot of times they're on the other side of the street, if there's no sidewalk on the other side of the street, I've seen that done as well.
But there's gotta be sidewalks on both sides.
so at least here, right, there's a grass buffer.
Yes.
Okay, so on this road,
Yes, most
On this
places there
road.
is.
it wouldn't be a problem, but on Route 1, that's where we'd have this problem, right? Okay.
The sidewalk's pretty tight if you head north from Wells Corner, it gets tight up through there, take a look up through there if you wanna see some.
That's a good point.
And then there's telephone poles, but you can't do anything about them unless you move.
Yeah, those,
Cause they're sitting in the middle of sidewalks too.
Oh, I hate when they put the pole right in the center
Oh,
for the wheelchairs and that's awful.
But that's a design thing, that's not anything we can really dictate.
Yeah.
Well,
Because at that point, if there's a minimum standard by law,
Mhm.
if you put a mailbox in there, you're now not following the law, so that way mailbox gotta get removed anyways.
well, but our standards don't say anything about for new sidewalks, mailboxes should not be.
yeah, our ordinance is silent on mailboxes entirely, I think.
That's why I brought it up.
This is interesting.
Maybe you might wanna table this till next
what
one.
did the Route 1 study say, anything about mailboxes?
Don't know that they've articulated anything about
Not
I
that
don't
I've seen.
remember.
I remember something about the utility poles, but
Yeah,
not
right.
not the
Right.
mailboxes.
I think they said they were gonna move the utility poles.
Yes, I think that's what.
They're gonna move them back to the outside of the,
I don't know, when I recall the presentation or the Q&A period, I recall discussion about when they do the Route 1 corridor study, the utility poles would have to be moved.
Maybe we should make like with the multi-use paths, maybe we should make a mailbox ordinance a separate thing.
I think you might also, I mean, this is super geeky, but Postmaster General may have some thoughts on all of that. So there may be, I know nothing of it, except for maybe it's a thing that we should probably, before we start drafting ordinances about mailboxes, we might wanna look into that too.
So
I
I
think
would
you should
suggest that
table
we go forward with
Table the
this
sidewalks.
and
table
put
the
something on our
sidewalks
our agenda.
and look at it more in depth.
Procedurally, wouldn't you guys have to take a vote to recommend that we?
I make a motion that we table this until we can look further into utility pole locations and mailboxes.
That would stop it from getting on in November, right?
Yeah, but it's, I mean, this isn't as important as the other ones are. I mean, the ordinance is not gonna really go into effect to anybody building until the,
Well, I
State.
think Steve from DPW was looking to get this done because he's got sidewalks that he needs to do, so I think, I don't think we can table it. I think we gotta move it forward, but we just gotta find a way to make it work.
And maybe we have to do another ordinance in June to
Yeah.
address the sidewalk
Plus we keep,
after we do additional study.
We've pushed off a lot of big ordinance changes to next June, so the more you keep adding to next June,
Yeah.
the more confused the voters are gonna be with all these ordinance changes.
I would encourage you to consider this because the design work for the Route One corridor is happening now. So for them to know what the requirement might be would be helpful.
At least tell like what we want for sidewalks and we, you know, that type of thing, right, so.
There's no chance that VHB hasn't probably had internal conversations about this as well. So maybe we could ask them if they had any thoughts about the sidewalk, about the mailboxes
Sure.
and the
Absolutely.
poles.
But I'd like to proceed with this to get it passed.
That's a good idea, I agree.
So no one seconded your motion, Dave? Okay. Can the planning board get a motion to accept this as amended in the table?
Yeah, so move.
Second.
Those in favor? 4, all those against, 4-1.
So I'll make a motion to vote to move the proposed ordinance amendment as amended to the certification and warrant signing phase to be voted by secret ballot on November 4th, 2025.
Second.
moving the second, all those in favor? 5-0.
Nice. So now we gotta go back, right?
Yeah, we'll go
Right,
back.
sorry.
Okay, no,
We'll
you're
go
good,
back
you're good.
to the,
There's too many things that look alike here.
let's go back.
I'm going there now.
Wish we could go back in time.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
Procedurally, did you make a formal motion to amend that table?
Do you wanna say that
thought you
table?
said-
Okay, I just wanna make
He
sure
said
that
the table
to move forward
would be amended.
as amended. I
As
just-
amended on the table, right?
You said that.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
so and that's what we accepted.
So we go with it. So let's go back to number 2, which would make sense. Joint public hearing with the planning board on an ordinance to amend chapter 145 land use of the code of the town of Wells to update provisions relating to affordable housing.
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Those in favor? 5-0.
Move to open the public hearing.
Second. All those in favor? 5-0.
Okay, now which one?
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you again. This is proposed changes to the affordable housing ordinance. We have an existing ordinance and some changes were needed to come into compliance with LD 2003. The definition of affordable housing development was added to the code. We did not have a definition before. And it references
The state statute requirements for what falls under the definition of affordable housing unit. Currently, affordable housing developments are only allowed in the RA district. This would change to be allowed in the RA, RC, and GB districts. And within those districts, within areas designated as growth areas per the comp plan. Restrictive covenants to ensure that the units remain affordably in perpetuity as part of the ordinance as well. The state statute only referenced at least 30 years, and workshopping and discussions, these believe they would be best to be affordable forever. Buffer requirements are reduced from today's ordinance. Today's ordinance had requirements for triple setbacks. Some of the setbacks were dependent on the street frontage requirements of the ordinance. LD 2003 doesn't allow that. So buffer requirements are reduced to that district's structure setbacks. And another change that was made was also to have a minimum lease period of 12 months. So that's a quick summary of the changes to the ordinance. Similar to the accessory dwelling unit ordinance, this is something that the town has worked on with both boards for about a year and a half. The original version was developed by the town attorneys and then modified in more recent workshops with the Board of Selectmen and Planning Board.
Yep. Now open to the,
I'll open to the public.
Would anybody from the public like to comment on this? Seeing none?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moving to second, all those in favor?
Make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second. All those in favor? 5-0.
Kathy, you have a question?
I just have a question, and I'm not, I just wondered, where it says continued occupancy of the rental housing shall be contingent on meeting the income limitations. So if someone moves in because their income is 80% for rental housing, and somebody gets a raise, and so once they get more money, they're out of the housing? Okay,
That's affordable housing.
okay, all right.
It's always been that way. It's pretty much always been that way,
Okay, not much incentive.
even in inner cities.
Keeps them in affordable
I
housing.
never realized that, so if you buy a house, you're forced to sell it?
These are rentals usually.
Oh, alright, so.
I mean, if you're doing like workforce housing, the same thing applies up at High Pine, you can only, make so much money.
But so you're forced to sell the house? There's no way in heck you can force somebody to sell a house.
No, but they can't, in other words, they can't rent it or anything, they have to stay living in it.
Right.
And then when they go to sell it up at High Pine,
But
they can only sell it for.
Right, I get that piece,
Okay,
but
so I mean, yeah, it's a stepping stone is what it is.
right,
But
You
these
force a
are,
person
these
out
are,
of
these
their
are gonna be rentals.
Right.
They're not gonna be, they're gonna be apartment buildings. So if you make more than you're supposed to, when your lease comes back up, every year they fill it out. My question is, who's gonna oversee the program?
Exactly, and that's been my first question every single time we've had, looks like the town.
I mean, this is another thing the state's doing, so you really have no choice.
Well, they can watch it over then.
I hate to bring it up, but how do we feel about 12 consecutive months on this one?
I'm fine with the 12 months of this.
I just fear that if there's no incentive to do better. If you have a home there, and where do you go from there? You go from affordable and you get bumped out because you're now 100%, or 85% of the remain limited households at or below 80% of
What do you mean by incentive to do better? Like,
because it's just like you just made it, you got this house, you're renting there, you're doing well. You wanna do better in whatever you're doing for work, you get a raise or you do better, you get a better job. And now you can't, you're bumped out of that, but you're probably not gonna honestly be able to afford anything else in the area, so you
Right,
just move
because-
away.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Once you get that raise, it's not like someone gave you a $200,000 raise.
Exactly.
You got bumped out of the zone, but you still can't afford to buy.
Yeah, but at the same time, as your raise goes up, so does the means for the area, so what you can make goes up at the same time.
The table changes every
The
year.
table changes every year.
Okay, and I'm not just saying there's nothing we can do
No,
to
it's
make
state
that, but
requirements.
I just wondered if that happened. Okay,
It probably does, but at the same time, making a unit available for somebody else that's below that level to get into a unit. Sort of a double-edged sword.
yeah. Okay, again, affordable housing would only happen if we didn't have the regulations, the restrictions, the requirements that the government keeps thinking they're doing to save us and make decisions for ourselves, because we can't be responsible enough to decide whether or not we need a sprinkler system or not a sprinkler system. If we can't afford to put a deck on right away when you build your house, but you have to put it on now. If you lived in the basement and you gotta work up, like a lot of people did to get in there, they build the upstairs, those were affordable. But every single thing that we do, every single thing that they pass to make us safer, to make us more responsible, to make us understand that we shouldn't have hired this person because they didn't build our house right, that's our responsibility, or the person doing it. Unfortunately, for those 5% of people that maybe can't make those decisions, 95% of the people who can are forced to pay a lot more for housing. That's really what's causing that. You know, I just wanna say that out there in the open.
Any other comments or questions?
No, I'm leaving that one alone.
I guess I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we move the proposed ordinance as written, actually, we didn't change anything, to the certification and warrant signing phase to be voted by secret ballot on November 4th, 2025.
Second.
I procedurally didn't have them do it today.
Do we wanna just
I think they've already, as long as you've already made your recommendation.
His recommendation
I think
originally,
you're
so
fine.
there's no change.
Nothing changed.
Okay, right, because that was, okay, good.
Are you guys done with us?
Are you done with us?
No. Probably not, but we'll say we are right now.
Do we have anything else?
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much, you guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Just go wait a second, sir.
Yep.
It's good to get. It's good to get that expertise, that helps me a lot.
All right, next up,
That's an interesting, I never.
all right, next up, we have a public hearing on proposed amendments to the town charter to change the position of town clerk from elected to an appointed position.
This may actually be one of the easier ones that you discuss.
That's right.
As you might recall, the chapter C of the charter, section 11.01 under elected officials, in this case, the town clerk. Just a historical background again, you'll recall that Brenda Lehman was elected as town clerk in June of '23. She ultimately resigned her position in March of '24 for retirement. And in 6 of '23, the question of moving from, and therefore, when Brenda resigned, the board appointed someone per the charter. That was Mary Beth Cordone. In June of '23, the question of moving from an elected to an appointed town clerk appeared on the ballot. The question passed. However, the required 30% of the last gubernatorial election number was not met. That's around 2,100 voters. In November of '23, the question was then again posed to be for the voters, and the question did not pass, even though we had the 30% requirement. And follow-up a bit was that many people feared that Brenda would be losing her job if they moved to an appointed, if the board moved to an appointed position. As we know, Brenda and her sister Jessica, and well before that, their mom, have served as the town clerk of the community. Brenda and Jessica both spoke publicly of their support to move to an appointed position, and that all stemmed from the growing complexity of the position of town clerk. It is not a position that someone coming into that role with no background or knowledge would be very successful at. And so having someone appointed that has the skills, knowledge, and abilities, I think we all know how important that might be. Mary Beth was appointed, as I said, back in '23 when Brenda resigned. If we looked at that as a beta test, I would think that I haven't heard anyone that wouldn't suggest that that has been a very successful appointment, and that office, I can tell you, functions extremely well. So that brings it forward to you tonight about whether you'd like to put this on the ballot in November, and with the hope that we'll hit the 30% number if the people were to support the position going to an appointed role.
That makes sense.
Yeah, really, yeah. I'm certainly in favor
Pretty
of
simple
doing
one
this,
tonight
yeah.
on that one.
Any questions on this?
Just one thing, I had somebody email me and I just wanna share it just to make sure.
Did we open the public hearing on this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, so sorry, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's
Jim,
open.
good
I-
catch.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I didn't open it.
No, didn't open it.
Well, we
Right,
don't-
we got-
Okay, I make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Want me to say all that again?
No.
No. Yeah, yeah.
Could you please?
Any questions or comments by the public on just this, on the town clerk?
Town clerk. I'd like a,
You gotta just do on this, we have a public hearing open.
I'm public, right?
Just on the town clerk, so.
Oh, just not town clerk, go ahead, yeah.
So seeing no comments, can you close it?
I move to close the public hearing, and do you want me to continue? and vote to move the proposed town charter amendment as written to the certification warrant signing phase to be voted by secret ballot on November 4th, 2025.
I'll second it, but I'd like to just have that brief discussion. So I had somebody reach out to me, a member of the public, and they were concerned primarily because of the optics of where this just failed last November. And listen, I'm not saying that I don't support this. I think that our town clerk has done phenomenal. I really do. I think our elections run seamlessly. She's awesome. She's a great individual. But I think it's worth just discussing in a public sphere. The optic of if the voters just shot it down, is it tone deaf of us to move it forward, I guess, would be a good way. That's how I would put it. It's not how they put it, but.
My comment to that was, what else are we gonna do? We really have no alternative. We have an appointed town clerk. And if we don't seek to get this ordinance passed, we're going to be in the position of having to lose a very successful employee of this community.
Very good, yeah. And I think it's really fair to say that the town clerk's office, as Mr. Perdue had said earlier, that it has gotten a lot more complicated. There are a lot of legal things involved, a lot of laws and stuff. They run our voting. So it really has to be someone who is experienced, who knows what they're doing. And the way it sits right now, if we don't pass this and we don't have people accept that we want to have an appointed town clerk, it can be a person that can just run for the office. And if they're really good at their campaign and just doing something, and they could be 18 and electable and not have any idea on how to do that office. And that would be really tough on the town of Wells, because that is a very busy office and the person in there really needs to know what they're doing.
Yeah, I've often said I think we were spoiled for many, many years,
Yeah,
right?
'cause they
So we had people that knew what they were doing, easily electable. I said this years ago, or a few years ago when this first started. My greatest fear was we'd have someone that run just for the sake of running and saw what the salary was. That'd be pretty cool, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And also we have somebody in there that is running the meeting like I am tonight, all over the place, but because they're tired, but so I just had that fear, and I get what you're saying, John. I get why people in this town, feel that way, especially the older people in town like that vote of the town clerk, and I do understand that point, but I just think this is very important.
Well, I just wanna be clear, it's not necessarily my thoughts, but just like you guys, I get people that reach out to me, and I wanna make sure that I at least bring that forward when I have an opportunity. So this discussion, I think, is positive too for community members that are watching that maybe have the same question as in terms of what our rationale is. And it's not, I don't just think it's some motive we have. Like I said, from my perspective, I've run 4 elections now. I lost one to Tim the first time. And but every one of them has been run very well. We knew the results that night. I don't know anybody that's ever, as long as I've been voting, that's ever really questioned whether or not that there was a lack of integrity. I think we've had a really good run in town, and I think we need to make sure that we keep that up. I think we owe it to the people, so.
And I'll further say, when this first came up, I was diametrically opposed to having it not be a elected position. But I'm 180 on that one. Right, the way I see it, it's the only way to go because of the complexity of the position, the requirement that you have to have an experienced person, even more so now than ever.
And if we are missing something major and the public still doesn't feel like this is the way they wanna go, they do have an opportunity to vote it down again, right? Like, we wouldn't be imposing this exactly.
But quite frankly, it's our job to do a good selling job.
Right.
If I could add too, and I know that there was a touch point, when this first came up, that there was some concern that the town manager, regardless whether it's me or someone else, could potentially have some influence or interference in that office. The reality is that there are many safeguards that prevent the town manager from directing anything in that office. The voters and all the voting processes take place within that. The town manager's job, as I see that role to that office, is of support. What do you need? What can we do to make your office successful? And I think anyone in that office would attest to the fact that that's the only role that as town manager I have, and I assume anyone that follows me would have as well. Absolutely zero interference, and the furthest thing I wanna be involved in, or stay away from, is any voter initiatives whatsoever, and I think Mary Beth and her team would attest to that.
With respect to elections and everything else, that's all statutory.
Absolutely.
Can't have control, whether,
Absolutely.
even if you wanted to.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, sounds good.
Alright. Moved and seconded, all those in favor? 5-0. Next up, we have a public hearing on proposed amendments to the town charter regarding required warrant articles for the annual budget referendum relating to new positions.
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Who was the second, I'm
Okay.
sorry? John.
Can I get a procedural question? When we do that, I never, like, we do malt liquor, spirit, we don't have to have a
Open the- we
motion, we
don't
just
open
say,
the public
where's
hearing.
public's open, so you
No,
know,
but
I mean, I
typically
keep
with the
getting,
planning board you do, and I
right,
think
but
we're
not
just,
here.
no, we're just in the habit now, I think we've been carrying it.
Keep
I
getting
don't think
corrected, and I
we
don't
have
think I'm wrong.
Oh,
Alright,
good,
that's
thank
what I'm
you for
saying,
something,
alright.
and I never
Alright.
remember doing that.
I just wanna make sure I was right once tonight, so that, alright, we'll go.
Good job.
I just wanna make sure.
So this one probably is a little more interesting. This relates to chapter C of the charter, section 7.08. And currently, the charter has a requirement that every new position proposed into the budget is voted on independently by the voters. So if we were to ask for a new DPW employee, that position would be articulated, a firefighter, a police officer. And that has been successful, as Kathy pointed out last meeting, very articulately. It's been very successful. My greatest concern is if there became an emergency situation. If we had contract plow operators, and we do. If for some reason those two entities were not able, or they chose to not provide that service, and we could hire 1, 2, or 3 full-time employees to fill that void, we wouldn't have the ability to do that because we don't have the nimbleness to be able to go out and fill those positions. Even though we might have the funding, because we'd be pulling from what we had earmarked as contract services. Another one might be if the service we use to clean our buildings, if they were to go out of business or find other ways to use their services and left us, we'd need to hire 1 or 2 custodians to be able to fulfill that. And so we would be left not able to do that by hiring people. That's my only concern. It's really more emergency situations. There may be an opportunity to look at that, obviously maybe not tonight because we'd have to go through some more hurdles, but maybe for even the June meeting. Thinking about ways for safeguards, if a situation were to arise, that we would have the ability to be flexible.
Like, if we deem an emergency situation, couldn't we then have you hire if we've said?
I would ask Leah that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, Tim, that there are, like, I know that there are provisions in the charter that allow you to spend a certain amount if it's under a certain amount, right? But that's a general provision of the charter, whereas this is a very specific one. And oftentimes, if you're doing charter interpretation or ordinance interpretation, if there are competing provisions, the more specific shall prevail. That's just one of those standards of interpretation. And because you have a very specific provision on that, I think you might be hamstrung around it with if it says that. Now, that's just a on the fly analysis. I could delve more deeply, but that's my gut reaction there.
So my question would be to,
This is a public hearing.
oh shoot,
Oh.
will you talk?
Oh, I did talk. Sorry. I'm tired. Sorry, did public have any comment on this? Thanks, John. Yep.
I'm just thinking you should be able to hire.
Can you come up to the podium?
Oh.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, if somebody does decide not to plow or whatever, I would imagine you'd be able to basically put an advertisement into the paper saying plowing for the town or something, right? I mean, and if you have the funds, you could pay them.
You could.
Same thing with the custodian, so we don't need a permanent employee for that, do we? Is
Well,
that what you're
depends on
saying?
how quickly we could be. Again, it's about whether we were to advertise, how long do we advertise, how long does that take as the snow is falling? That's one of the challenges, but it also takes
But
time to
are
hire
you talking about having a full-time employee on hand all the time.
No.
Sir, can I just
So
have
if
you
it's-
state your name? just
Yeah,
for-
Bill Kuchar, and I'm a resident,
Okay, thank you.
and I'm just wondering, I mean, people know people, I'm sure, in town that if they have a plow, they would probably do it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it can't be a too hard of a situation, I wouldn't think. If it takes cleaning an office, there's plenty of cleaning places. I know on Atlantic Avenue, people that clean houses all the time that would come in and clean the office. It can't be that hard, that's all I'm saying.
Hi, I'm Maura Kelly, a resident. I had a question, when I read the original language, it says any new position, and I was thinking about that as the position, not a new person. So I didn't read it with any limitations and the examples that Mr. Pardue gave. So that was just, I wanted, if that was true, people or position.
I think that's a fair question, is that if we need to hire a firefighter, we have firefighter positions. So is that a new firefighter or is that a new position?
Replacing them.
Yeah, I think if the position, if you already have, I mean, I'm using rough numbers, you have 10 people on the payroll, somebody leaves, you don't need, there's an open
Right.
position. I think it's additional,
So if we needed an 11th,
correct.
that would be.
Yeah.
And we do, that's what we adhere to now.
Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, now we can,
Can I make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
all those in favor? 5-0.
Okay. That was my comment. It was gonna be that we've been, you know, people leave during the year. Things happen. Someone goes and wants to become a full-time babysitter for their grandchildren or something. I mean, those things happen.
Sure.
And so when so you can fill those positions. These are brand new, never before had positions that we're talking about. And I think, in all honesty, I think that people in this town deserve to know when we're adding new people, that it may not be fun to have to defend it, but if you really needed another fireman, or if somebody really needed another policeman, or if we really needed an additional assistant to the highway department type of thing, and it was a new position that we didn't have before, it's our job to be able to explain to the people why we need that position, how important that is, and have them the chance to know that this is a lifetime commitment if they vote this in. Because it directly affects their taxes on that one, because it's an expansion to what we have for our employee base. So I think once that happens and the people do vote it in, and it's rarely that they don't choose to have that happen over the years. And if not, maybe whoever was here didn't do a good enough job to explain it. So I think that's something that the people of the town deserve to see if we're expanding our employee and what the position is and what they're gonna do and why it's going to be something that we need. And then once that gets voted in, it gets put into the salary, and the next year, it's just part of the salary and it moves forward. But I think new positions, it's really important to keep that so people can see that, because people, that's one of the things they do ask about. When do we get all those people that we have down there? Well, you know what, every year you voted on that.
Well, if I can be very clear, I'm not advocating for this. I only bring it up
Oh,
because
no, I know.
in many instances and communities, you see these proposed within the budget process, the positions, and then it's very clearly defined why and all, but you don't see it as an individual item on the charter or on the ballot, but it seems to have worked very well in Wells. So again, not advocating for it, just bringing it forward for consideration.
I'd like to agree with Kathy, and just beyond that, the only recourse that they would have if they really disagreed with the positions would be to vote the entire budget down, which becomes even messier. At least at this point, if there was a problem with like a DPW worker, they really didn't want that, but overall the budget looked satisfactory, they have that choice. I mean, I think if this were a situation that we were really, really worried about, then I would think that maybe we would just identify within the charter, in this instance, you could go through a public hearing and temporarily expend already allocated funds towards a temporary position to fill as a stopgap measure. But I think to throw the baby out with the bathwater, I don't think I would support that.
Can I ask a question, Mike? How many town employees in total do we have right now?
Full-time, I think we're just nudged over 100, 105 perhaps.
And what would be your estimate of the number that we might have had in 2025?
In 2025.
Yeah, 2020.
In 2020, we've probably added 10 or 12 positions. We added the firefighter positions, 3 police officers, the incoming person who will be performing, so the
So
HR
it's very rare that we add.
Oh, the public has been, yeah, it's rare and the public has been very supportive.
And the size of the budget from dollar amount from 2020 to 2025 is gonna be enormous.
I don't have those numbers.
So my point in asking these questions is that it seems to me that the town of Wells of 2025 is a lot different from the town of Wells of past. It's no longer a community of a total year-round residency of 5,000 or 6,000 people. It's much more than that, and it's growing exponentially. To require every new position and an organization of this size to be passed by the electorate seems ludicrous to me. You still have, the public still has the control of the overall budget. If you're, let's say Public Works, we'll just pick Public Works. You do a Public Works budget and you're not anticipating the requirement of a new employee, you pass the budget, you get into the 3 months of the year, something comes up and you definitely need an additional employee. And you've got the handcuffs on, you can't adapt to them. You can't hire a new employee where you could still cover it in the past budget. So I don't see the reason for having a requirement for every new position to be added to the budget by the entire electorate. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I guess my concern on that would be that if it was a stopgap measure, you know, that's all well and good, but when budget cycle rolls up around the corner the next year, that position gets backfilled, plus the money for wherever it came from gets put in, and you see that automatic budget increase without any input on that. I think it's very, as in the town it's grown, there's no doubt about that, but I still think that people within the community really value having their voice in these matters and being able to decide it, just from what I've heard. I think there's a lot of value to that.
So let's say over the winter, we had to hire a custodial professional, right? And then it comes to June, what happens then? Does that position go up for a vote?
Well,
We can't hire
depends,
it.
can't hire it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't hire.
So under this, if this were to go through, right?
You could hire.
Hypothetically, if we hired somebody for an emergency situation and then the next vote comes up, does the public vote on that position if it already is functional, if it's?
No, my thought would be that that position is incorporated within the proposed budget that goes before the voters.
Okay.
You know, when serving on the York County Budget Committee, it became, which is, you know, it's the number of county employees is larger than the amount of Wells employees. We didn't vote on any new positions, we voted on the budget. And during the budget process, there was a tremendous amount of talk about the number of positions that would be included in the budget, but not the position itself. So I think, you know, when you go through the budget process and you discuss any potential new positions, that's available to the public. It's not like you're doing something behind. And if if for any chance that you know, something comes up and you didn't have enough positions in there, York County wise, as long as you can cover that in the budget, you're fine.
In the budget review process, the budget review, they skip the salary.
That's correct.
That's right, so there's no discussion.
Well, so during the budget process, we show every position, we show within each department, and they recognize what the salaries are.
Right.
And they're, you know, and we're very transparent about that, obviously.
Right, but there's no discussion on,
No,
you
they
know,
don't,
pros
not
and
on
cons or-
salaries.
Not on salaries.
No, correct.
So once that, you know, so the only time you get a discussion on that if you had a new employee, would be, you know, a new position that you would say, this is what we need. We have all these salaries over there. You can look on the list and the background of the information and see what employees we have. But when we have the new one and we need to express that's what they, you know, really, they elect us to do the due diligence, to say, when it gets presented and the town is growing, and it does, and it has, then this is what we need to keep it supported. This is to still have the services that everybody requires. And we give that to the people to look at, and they say yes or no. And I think that's a great thing for them to be able to participate in that. And I just think that it's the open and more transparent than anything. And someone can't just say, well, we'll just put it in the salaries because we think we're gonna need this. And I know that doesn't happen now, but in the future, it could happen. So this way, it's always pretty transparent and everybody gets to see how we're adding people.
Again, not arguing one way or the other.
I guess I generally have to agree with that. I like, you know, not everybody, I know I didn't watch all these meetings, you know, before I was on here, so a lot of the times, if the first you're hearing about a new position is when you get that sample ballot, right? So it's good, it's an informational thing for a lot of people. It helps track what's going on in town, you know.
Any other questions? Take a motion.
Okay, so I make a motion that we don't move this forward.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we do not move this forward. All in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Next up, we have a public hearing to access the facility maintenance and repair fund up to $4,500 for the replacement of the large display monitor in the Littlefield meeting room. You wanna explain this, Michael, and then we'll open it to the public?
Yes, thank you. This is a proposal to replace the large display monitor that's in the corner of the meeting room.
And it's not displaying?
The one that died, yes, the one that's dark. It's been dark for about a month or so now, and we got a quote to replace the monitor, and of course, the scope of work to replace the monitor, it's not a simple plug and play, unfortunately. That monitor is tied to this monitor, it's tied to 2 pieces of hardware in the studio, it's tied to the camera for doing video conferencing, so it's a much more complex system than just replacing the monitor. So that's why the price of $4,500 is the price that's being asked for to be taken out of the facility maintenance and repair fund.
Any comments from the public on, just on this, the $4,500 for the replacement of the large monitor? Seeing none,
4,500? No,
Yeah.
4,500.
oh yeah, you're right, sorry.
So, discussion?
I feel like I'm getting corrected.
No, you're good, you're good.
In school.
4,474.
Yeah. I'm sleepy.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
I have some open public, no?
No,
This is just for
it's coming up
public
in a few minutes.
We'll get there.
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
Well, to close the public hearing? No, I have no discussion on that. Of closing the public hearing, all right.
I move to accept the proposal from Pro AV for the purchase and installation of a new display monitor for the Littlefield meeting room and to access the facility maintenance and repair fund up to $4,500 to cover the costs.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, discussion?
Yeah, when this was brought up to bring to this meeting to have a public hearing on it, I asked a number of questions and none of those were answered. It appears, you know, the cost of the monitor is not a big deal. It's less than half of the total cost. My concern was, do we have an opportunity to upgrade our system in total? And by upgrading our system in total, one of the things that we do not allow is attendance at this meeting by members of the select board remotely if they happen to be not available in the community, but available to attend the meeting. In other words, remote attendance. And I've been told that our system doesn't work to do that, doesn't work well enough to do that. So are we missing an opportunity?
Not that I disagree, but I believe when I brought it up, there's also legal issues behind that, being remotely. Cause I asked it, cause I was out, I was sick, and I wanted to do the same thing.
What is the,
So, under, and again, I don't know it off the top of my head, but speaking from the hip, there are statutes under FOA that talk about remote participation policies, right? And it also requires that the town adopts its own if you want to engage in
Right.
that. Now, my understanding is, and I will say that the preference under the statute is for in-person attendance. That said, towns can enact their own, and they have to articulate under what circumstances remote participation is allowed. My understanding, again, I haven't seen this policy in quite some time, but there was a determination by this board, and of course it is a policy which can be revisited, that there was a strong preference for in-person participation. So again, policies are within the purview of this board. You can certainly revisit that policy and change it, and determine when those circumstances, when remote participation is available. Now, to your point, Tim, the systems issue becomes important because if a member of a board is going to participate remotely, so too must the public be able to participate remotely. So that's probably driving the question that you're asking.
And that was the big issue.
Yeah.
I remember that was the
well,
giant
I,
issue.
quite frankly, I would not have a problem with someone who wants to make a public comment to make it over a screen, as long as they meet the 3-minute introduce who they are and where they live, and adhere to the 3-minute rule. I have no problem with that.
And something like that, I believe that's happened before through like the live streams, right? Rebecca, with the questions, if somebody has a question that comes up.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah, and importantly though, I mean, for example, I mean, it's not so much an issue for this board, and I know the town does a great job of posting the agenda and whatever documents are available. For example, a planning board, that gets a little tricky because, you know, all the plans and so again, it's not just being able to be seen and heard, the folks in the public who are participating. Also, they have to have kind of access to all of the documents that are being discussed, and I think you do that anyway as far as select board meetings
They
go.
can do that now.
Yeah, I don't know if that happens with planning board, I don't know, so, but I'm just kind of flagging the issues as to if you are going to have remote meetings, that there are certain hoops that one must jump through to make sure that that's happening.
But the fact of the matter is, if we so wanted to change that policy, we could change that policy.
The only thing I would say, Jim, too, is we'd have to really spend a lot of money to upgrade our security on that system. I mean, we, through COVID, we had a ton of inappropriate, a ton of other things happening. And I mean, we're talking a lot of money,
Yeah,
a lot of money.
Well,
on
I get
security.
that, all that, but I just did a internet search on meeting attendance policy, not meeting attendance policy, meeting attendance virtual meetings. And the top 10, I asked, well, they came up with a thing, top 10 software applications. I don't know what they cost. And a lot of them, you have to, give your name, address and all that sort of thing, even to get information. My point is, we're doing like a $5,000 upgrade for a monitor with a system that may be outdated.
This system does interface with Zoom and everything. We
Yeah,
spent the money, it's to interface with YouTube, Facebook, we were using Zoom.
Yeah.
So I
just
Right,
upgraded.
but when you say you spent the money, is this contract software or is this self-designed software? In other words, is this a package that's put together to do all those things?
That's what it was.
Yeah. We, how much, 50,000
I
wasn't it?
thought it was 90.
Oh, 90
Well,
altogether.
90,000 is, that's
They redid the
Well, that's
whole
what
room.
They
Well,
redid,
well,
yeah, they did all the audio,
That
there were
sounds
rooms.
to me like contract software. In other words, you paid them to put
We
in
have
all
people
these.
that actually, I think they still, don't they, I think they were supposed to stay on or something, and they trained members of the staff and everything else.
think those who were here before me probably could
Yeah.
comment in depth on that. About
Yeah, when the studio was upgraded, there were new personnel added, to, monitor the studio and many things were upgraded at that point. And it is a very custom system. That's what, at the last workshop we had to schedule this public hearing, I thought the question you had was more on the complexity of the system. And we did upgrade update the memo to help explain, and we actually produced a diagram of the system and how the whole room interacts with the studio. So that was the update to the memo that we provided to the Board of Selectmen that I hope answered your question, but you're opening a whole other topic.
Well, maybe I didn't phrase the question in a manner that was properly understood. My brief internet search came up with, the top 10. And I kind of looked at them and I said, well, wow, this looks like, this software is used by major corporations, NASDAQ, all these different places that have remote meetings. So and I can't even remotely think that the cost is gonna be $50,000 if that's what we paid for what we're getting.
I don't recall what the total studio upgrade was, but we do have the capability to do video conferencing, Zoom meetings, Teams meetings. We've held them many times in this room. What we'd have to do to hold a public meeting, it gets into some legal aspects and probably involves some other technology to be added. The hardware would be in place, the purchase of a new monitor wouldn't change the ability, I think that'd be more of a software issue.
My initial question was not on the $1,879 for the monitor. It's for the additional I guess it's software to get the.
Part of it's software upgrade in the studio and part of it is just the labor, to install the monitor.
So that's, my point was, if this was a robust system, all you would do is plug in a monitor.
Well, if you look behind that monitor, you'll see 3 different electronic
I
components that
understand
go
that.
with it.
So my
It's-
question is I think this needs more investigation before we just buy a monitor, quite frankly. I'd like to see a little bit more investigation before we buy a monitor. See if it's worthwhile to investigate at this point, having the capability of a more robust system with the appropriate security controls.
Then that would be a whole other project,
understand
and we'd
that.
need a defined scope to put that out to bid. And I believe just replacing the monitor won't detract your ability
No,
to
but
do that in the future.
you're paying more than double the cost of buying a monitor. I don't know what the costs of CANSOFT, and I'll equate this to when I was in public practice. You could buy accounting software, a company could buy accounting software, and it cost them anywhere from 20 to 50 grand to have a robust accounting software system, or they could buy QuickBooks for $115. So I'm wondering if there are robust systems that are lower cost and because they're sellable across the country to all kinds of organizations, as opposed to what we paid, we took the 50 grand approach whenever.
And technology and software could have certainly changed from then. I think that was done right around the COVID period, so that was 5 years ago. So certainly things could be better now as far as software availability that's less customized.
I guess my question is this gonna all be covered in the facility study in like a month or two?
Well, what will be covered in that would be redefining space, the need for added space. I can tell you that this room, a much larger meeting room and all, studio included, would be moved in that concept drawing that they have to a first floor, so public access is much easier. You're probably looking 3 to 5 years if there was an appetite to advance that by you and the voters.
We're going the other way on that one, we just moved it upstairs.
Well, But it's a much bigger price tag for all of those needs.
So my real question is, shouldn't we explore whether there are more robust bus systems for reasonable costs?
We can always do that, yes, no argument, we can always explore that.
After spend,
Do we have, are we under a contractual agreement with Pro AV? I don't know.
No, we're not.
That's just this service that we've used.
Yeah,
to
they're
maintain all
the
of this.
company that set up the original studio and knows the software that was used and the hardware. So they're familiar with our existing studio needs.
when I came up with a list of 10 best, Pro AV didn't come up in the 10 best, just so you know.
And Jim, honestly, if we do the facility studies and we move forward in 3 or 5 years or whenever to do that, that would be the time, cause if we did an upgrade now,
Right.
and then in 3 or 5 years, we're moving down, all we really need is a new monitor right now.
Well, my only point is, we don't know the answer to that question because we didn't investigate it. We didn't investigate if there were more robust systems that are available at lower cost. I'm not saying postpone this for 3 years, I'm saying just investigate it, and if that investigation is done, is there, they're talking $40,000-$50,000, well, buy the monitor, but let's know.
I guess, and I'm speaking from a point of ignorance to say, I'm not sure what the next step of robust would be. As Mike pointed out, Teams and Zoom and YouTube streaming, and I'm not sure all the other components. What would be that next level that we should be looking for?
If one of these CAN systems has a relatively low cost and with the ability, when you get a monitor, you just plug the monitor in and not have to do another $2,200 of work just to plug in a monitor. Then fine. If we do an investigate, just look out there to see what's available and by the next meeting, it comes up with a ridiculous number and Jim doesn't know what he's talking about, then fine, let's buy the monitor. And I'm saying we've been out without the monitor for 3 or 4 meetings now. Another meeting is not gonna hurt it.
I don't have a problem with doing that, like just getting an answer, cause it may very well be that going with a company that doesn't already know about the system, might be more expensive, but it might be, it'd be nice to have an answer at least, cause it does seem like I don't know anything about this, but it does seem like a high number,
I mean, part of that cost as well is just the labor to put a new monitor there. There's a new bracket on the backside, you have to remount all the components. You need 2 or 3 people to lift it in place, bolt it in place, and do those wiring. It's not just software upgrade, it's the monitor itself, it's the labor cost to install it, and then the software upgrade.
I'm gonna tell you,
Come on.
my daughter's house is a monitor not much smaller than that she wanted to put it up on the wall and I put it up myself. I mean, plugged it in. I understand.
You can't lift that by yourself.
You have no idea how you can rig things to get.
Okay. Alright.
Yeah, should we move the question here?
I think you already had a first.
We already
We
had
have
a,
a
We already have
first and
a
second. We have-
motion to accept the Pro AV.
yeah, we have it, yep.
So it's been moved and seconded.
Moved and
Motion to
seconded.
table then?
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, seconded.
No, they just motioned to table, Cindy.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in
So
favor?
are they canceling the first motion?
No, the first motion sits on the floor.
Table,
And
the
there's a
tabling
motion
motion
to
goes
table that
first.
motion.
Right,
It's a primary one.
they can table it. If they have the votes.
Are we still in discussion? Can I?
We can discuss
No,
it.
You don't
motion
can't
to table.
discuss on a
Yeah.
There's no
tabling
discussion.
motion.
Alright.
There's no discussion. So you either vote yes or no.
It's been moved and seconded to table the Pro AV monitor. All those in favor? 2, all those opposed? 3. So 3-2, we didn't table it.
So we
Now
move-
we have a motion on the floor to
Yep.
accept the Pro AV.
Second?
All,
I already-
we already,
we
it's
already-
been moved and seconded.
Have that.
All those in favor of accepting the bid for Pro AV? 3, 4, all those opposed? 1, so 4-1. All right, next up, we have a public hearing to review a lodging license, this could be quicker.
Okay.
Lodging license application for 513 Post Road LLC. Any comments from the public? Seeing none,
I move to close the public hearing and grant the license.
Second.
moved in second, all those in favor? 5-0. Next up, we have DCS Incorporated doing business as Scoochie's Pub and Grill, 52 Post Road Wells, application for full-time beer, wine, spirits, liquor license. This is a renewal. Anyone from the public on this? Seeing none,
I move to close the public hearing and grant the license.
Second.
moved in second, all those in favor? 5-0. Next up, Tyler Klimas, doing business as Blitz Fishing Adventures, 65 Beaver Hill Road, Springvale, application for a commercial recreation business license. This is new. Anyone from the public on this? Seeing none,
I move to close the public hearing and grant the license.
Second.
all those in favor? 5-0. Next up, we could use some good news.
I have some if you'd
All
like
right,
some.
I'd love some.
Okay, I'll speak fairly quickly.
Thank you.
This one is with regard to a police interaction that took place. I'll just read the letter. To Chief Putnam, thank you and kudos to one of your officers. On August 23rd, approximately 7:10 p.m., I was traveling southerly on Route 109 in Wells near Sanford Line and had to pull over to the side of the road to check an address on my phone. I had activated my emergency flashes, and about the same time, one of your marked units was traveling northerly on Route 109, made a U-turn and pulled up behind me after I had located my address and was about to leave. Rather than cause confusion, I remained stopped, waited for him to approach, and briefly explained to the officer that I was looking for an address on my phone so I could put it into their navigation system. I was a Lynn, Mass police officer for 32 years, now retired, and noted that your officer was vigilant in his observation of my stop in an unusual area, no houses or businesses nearby, safe in his approach to my vehicle, and professional and friendly. I thanked him for stopping and we went our separate ways. As a summer resident of Wells, my wife travels Route 109 regularly as well, and it was reassuring to know she would have received the same attention. And that was Officer Nick Slater. So kudos to Nick. I think it sounds like he exercised very strong professionalism and safety, and through the eyes of a friendly neighbor police officer in Lynn, Mass, was recognized. Another one from a resident, and I'm gonna leave because it's a medical event, I'll leave the names out. Longtime resident of town, but it was, wanted to write to say I wanted to thank Officer Cousins and EMTs Jess and Lisa, who came to our home early this morning. They are both WEMS employees. Please know that they were fantastic, well-trained, calm, professional, and reassuring. And one last one was regard to the Bike MS Maine Getaway in 2025 that just took place recently. And it was just a letter from their event production team, and it was just what a great job, in this case, the Wells Public Safety group did to make sure there was a safe ride and everyone had an excellent time and finished up very nicely. But they wanted to recognize our emergency service providers in the town. So 3 good ones.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, you guys, anything to say? Nope.
I'm all set.
All right, seeing none, we're now open to the public. We have 10 minutes set aside right now and then later on in the meeting.
Thank you all for your patience.
To speak, we do try to limit this to 3 minutes per person.
Good evening, my name is Wendy Ganales. I live on 43 Hemlock Trail in the town of Wells. And I attended the previous select board meeting where there was a presentation by the Flock security system and the Wells Police Department. I come to you with a bit of information from another community that had gone ahead and started to implement the Flock security system. This is actually from the city of Evanston, Illinois. This bulletin that they sent out was dated August 26th of this year. And it says, on August 26th, the city of Evanston and the Evanston Police Department deactivated all 19 Flock Safety ALPR cameras. The city is no longer collecting or providing license plate reader data to the Flock network.
It was doing that earlier.
Sometimes you just. Okay, I tried to move this way. The findings of the Illinois Secretary of State's audit combined with Flock's admission that it failed to establish distinct permissions and protocols to ensure local compliance while running a pilot program with federal users are deeply troubling. As a result, the city has deactivated the cameras and issued a termination notice to Flock, effective September 26, 2025. During this interim period until September 26th, data collected by other agencies and shared on the Flock network will remain available for Evanston's investigations into reported crimes. However, Evanston will not collect or share in any data itself. I ask the board to carefully consider the liability and ramifications of implementing the Flock surveillance system in light of the concerns in other communities, and some were noted in the previous meeting as well. As stated by board members this very evening in this meeting, the townspeople of Wells elect you to do due diligence before something of this magnitude is implemented. And I respect and appreciate that you will all take that responsibility very seriously before going forward with something of this magnitude. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Yep.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Susan Caldwell. I'm a resident of Wells, and I'm a happy descendant of immigrants who came here from Ireland and Scotland. The Scots settled here in Maine after trying out Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. The Irish, of course, went straight to Boston, where my grandfather promptly opened a saloon in Scully Square. Fortunately, it's gone now, or I'd probably be living upstairs over it instead of here in Wells with you. I loved growing up in Boston, a city of immigrants. There were first-generation Germans, Italians, and Irish living on my street. Later, when I taught American history, I always had the kids memorize the Emma Lazarus poem engraved on the Statue of Liberty. I believed those words summed up who we are as a country, and I took for granted that we really meant those words. Values of freedom, justice, and equality have been guiding principles for me all my life. I'm deeply distressed by the voluntary decision of the Wells Police Department to enter into the 287G contract with ICE. And because of my concerns, I'm one of the over 900 people who signed a petition asking the town of Wells to withdraw from the ICE contract. It's well documented that ICE is not consistently ensuring equal protection, due process, and fair treatment for all immigrants, despite these rights being guaranteed by the US Constitution and by Supreme Court rulings. Reports and lawsuits detail a systemic pattern of widespread due process violations in immigrant detention, including inadequate legal access, medical neglect, and inhumane conditions. ICE's use of surveillance technology risks disproportionately targeting and undermining the rights of marginalized immigrant communities. It's my understanding that the implementation of the ICE contract was paused by the police chief this spring. In the interest of accountability and transparency, I believe that you owe all residents of Wells some definitive answers about the contract's current status and implementation. I encourage you, therefore, in addition to ensuring accountability and transparency, to use your positions and power to advocate for the termination of the ICE contract in our peaceful town of Wells. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to comment? Yep. State your name again, please.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bill Kuchar, resident of Maine, and I think I'm in the right place because you guys hire people. And I've tried to get a hold of the manager a few times. I left a message, but never got back. And
I'm
it's
sorry to hear that. 'cause
Yeah,
I've
me
not heard
too,
from you.
because I called many times and they never can get through to you. But my situation is the question about having an information booth at the jetty parking lot. You go to Ogunquit, you drive in the parking lot, you look for a space, you pay for the toll, you pay at the, whatever the thing is. When we drive into the jetty parking lot, we have two people paid sitting there, one reading a book, one's greeting everybody. Hi, how are you? Do you have a sticker? Oh, you don't have a sticker? Okay, well, you have to pay to park. If the parking lot's full, you can drive around and look for a space. The way to the beach is down this path. Drive slow, there's a hump here. Well, when you drive in, it says right there, bump. There's a big bump, a hump there, okay? It says pay parking. There's a couple of signs saying pay parking. Do you really need to know a direction to go to the beach? I don't think so. There's a half a dozen people being paid to tell you what to do to go into a parking lot. Every time I go into that parking lot, I have to stop. If I just kind of drive through, hey, stop. It's like, why do I need to stop? Oh, because I need to know what you're gonna do. Are you gonna park here? It's like, no, I'm just gonna turn around. Oh, geez, you're the 100th person today, they said, that is just turning around. Really? What kind of it's like I feel like I'm driving into some state thing where they stop you for drunken driving or something. All I wanna do is drive into that parking lot and do whatever I wanna do. If I wanna look see if my friend's boat is in dock, then I'll look to see if my friend's boat's in dock. But I don't need 20 questions and answers to, oh, how you doing today, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, the cars are backed up and waiting to get in, and it's like we got a 2-minute conversation going out with someone who wants to be friendly. All I wanna do is drive in the parking lot. Why do we have this? Can I answer that? It must have came somewhere up on this board and it had to be approved. And is it uncles and aunts or cousins or something that are being paid for this? Because one's sitting there reading a book while the other one's doing something. Why do we have this? Can I get that answer from you? Is there anybody that has that answer?
Our policy is not to take questions, but from this, just take statements and we can look into why.
Okay, can we look into that? Because from my view, you go to Ogunquit, it's got a much bigger parking lot. You go over the bridge, and I'm sure the reason they got rid of the person in the booth is because the traffic was backed up over the bridge and it was creating a real problem. Well, guess what? Traffic is becoming a very big problem in the middle of the season when you're, how you doing today? Yeah, okay, you don't have, we don't need conversation on how to park. I just want to pull into a parking lot and park. I don't want to have to stop and talk to somebody. So please figure out what's going on with this situation, and I don't think we need any
Well, your time is up.
any
We
kind of
appreciate it.
whatever the frick they are doing there.
Any more public comments?
Hi, John Lillibridge, I'll go real quick. On behalf of the Wells Energy Advisory Committee, I just wanted to again thank the town for letting us do this. This will be our 5th annual electric vehicle show. It's on September 7th. It'll start at 1 p.m., last till 4. This may be our biggest one ever. And just thanks again to everyone, especially Mike and Rebecca and the Board of Selectmen for helping us, encourage us to continue to do this. And in addition to that, we also currently have the Wells Energy Survey going on. Feel free to reach out to us and we'll be able to provide QR codes. We'll definitely be talking about that at this upcoming event. And the exact date when that will close has not been decided yet, but we hope that that'll last at least till the end of the month of September. And that's it. I just wanted to also say, the whole time that I've been a resident here at Wells, I just wanna thank the board and all the employees here at the town for continuing to do an incredibly amazing job at having discussions, letting people speak their pieces, and doing a great job having dialogue and just including everybody in the town to feel like they can participate, feel like they can be understood, and feel like they can hear all your opinions. And that really is such a high bar that you set, and given the way that the world evolves over time, it's great to see that is a consistent thing that you've achieved here in Wells. So thanks so much.
Thank you, John.
Anyone else? No, sir, you had your three.
I know, but I just wanna
No,
know, is there gonna be a
I
way to
cannot.
get an answer from, if I
Sir,
call you, are you gonna be able to look into
Sir,
this
we
and find
can't
out
address,
how this works, or,
we,
I mean,
why don't you?
I wanna
sir,
know what, there's gonna be
call
a
it-
resolution to it.
Can you call the chief of police?
How can there be a resolution to it?
Call me tomorrow.
Okay,
Why don't you stop in and see me, that's even
that'd be perfect, I'd love to do that, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Seeing none. The current agenda items, a review and action on accounts payable and payroll warrants.
I move to approve and sign the warrant dated September 2nd, 2025, in the amount of $1,295,359.40. Cents.
Second.
Did you not go do the general?
There's no
Alright,
general.
those are. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? 5-0. Update and discussion on action in committees, projects, issues, purchases, personnel. We have discussion action on to approve the certification of the referendum articles for the November 4th, 2025 special town meeting.
I would suggest if you might, as amended, and Leah's gonna be working on that, so you have a document, if you're able to sign that this evening, we'll make the revisions overnight and have that to go with your signature page.
Okay. I move to approve and sign the certification of the referendum articles as amended to be voted by secret ballot on November 4th, 2025.
Second.
So moved and second, all those in favor?
Oh, can we,
Oh, sorry.
can we separate each article, please? We've done that before. Can we vote on each article?
You wanna vote on each article?
Yeah, please.
Well, I think that we have, don't we vote that afterwards? Oh,
You would vote as to bring it forward. We have one version that does not include Article 4,
Right.
which you chose not to advance. So we have that already prepared, so it does not include Article 4. Everything else.
Just like to vote on the individual articles, Article 2 and 3.
there is a copy where it says where we all, each of us vote and it says yes and no. Right? Isn't there one that we go one by one?
You could.
But I thought that was after, do we have to do that all tonight? I mean, is it tonight?
Yeah,
Today's the
tonight's
deadline,
the
right?
deadline.
Then we could probably quickly go through it once you give
Yeah.
us the
I
copy.
don't mind that.
But don't we have to wait for the copy, or do we have to wait? Can we just go with off the?
I think if you can do each one as amended,
Yeah.
cause
Alright.
tonight's kind of the drop dead to be able to get this on.
Okay, so you
So
wanna
you
see
wanna
them?
do, right, Article 1?
No, 1 and 2, I think 1, 2, 3,
Alright, Article 2,
okay.
you gotta make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the adoption of the Wells Comprehensive Plan update.
Second?
Why
To
is,
freeze?
why is that a question?
I don't know.
Shall the town vote to adopt the proposed Wells Comprehensive Plan update?
Right, cause it would be an ordinance entitled,
Right,
an
right.
ordinance.
Second.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this, or you wanna go to vote?
No, I don't want a
All right.
discussion, I'm just, I'm opposed to moving
Okay,
forward.
so we just say yea and nay?
Moved and second, all those in favor?
If you wanna move the rest in bulk, I'd be fine with that.
So can I have the vote, was that a 5
It was
yes?
5.
4-1.
4-1, thank you.
You don't have an
So
issue
one
moving
no.
the rest of them in bulk, Jim?
I'm sorry?
You don't have an issue moving the rest of them in
No, I
bulk?
don't have a, well, no, I don't, unless anybody else does.
Oh, I'd love it if we did, it's 8:30.
Yeah.
I thought it was, wait, hold on.
Do you wanna do a motion now to move all the rest of the articles?
The remaining ones as amended, as may have been.
1 second, 1 second. Okay. Yep. Okay, I make a motion that we move all the other articles on the special town meeting warrant to be moved forward for a vote to the public
As amended.
as amended and exempting which one?
That would be Article 4.
Article 4. Thank you.
And then you're gonna have to renumber them as well.
Right, I think Mary Ann has done that in one that's in your signing packet.
Okay.
You have a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? 5-0. Next up, we have a discussion and action on tax abatements.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I did it again. Discussion and action, sorry. Yeah, discussion and action to approve the November 4th, 2025 special town meeting warrant. My fault. I'm trying to move. I see Jody getting anxious back there, so I'm gonna get her up. No, we did the discussion action approved it. Yeah, referendum articles, right?
Okay,
Now we gotta-
I move to approve and sign the November 4th, 2025 special town meeting warrant.
Second.
So moving and second, any discussion on this?
Makes sense.
Seeing none, all those in favor? 5-0. Now, we will go discussion and action on tax abatement.
Okay.
So I'm coming before you tonight to ask you to abate some tax abatements for travel trailers. As in my memo, the total abatement is $7,666.76. There are 2 abatements on it that the assessor is asking. I have to have you abate them, but the assessor has supplementally sent out bills. They sent out bills for the people, but the units were reversed. So we're gonna get $800.52 back. So the net that we would be abating, you're gonna abate the whole 7,000
Okay.
plus, but we're gonna net $6,866.24 is the long and short of it. We've tried to recoup the money. These are units that are long gone. Long and short of it, Keely and I are trying to brainstorm different ways to get money for travel trailers. This fall season's coming to an end. We're gonna be sending a letter to the campground saying, hey, your season's coming to an end. We're generating a list as of probably tomorrow saying your people still owe this in outstanding taxes. Could you help us by encouraging your people to contact our office? Keely's gonna try and see if the campgrounds will let her in this fall so she can see if the units are still there, so that maybe we're catching them before they leave. So we're trying to amend our practices here just to try and recoup maybe some money before the units leave.
Oh, I understand. So these are like RVs that have left
Travel
before.
trailers that leave. The
And there's
problem
just-
is
there's no
our
way to
tax
know.
season runs July 1st to June 30th.
Mhm.
A camping season runs May to October. The tax bill comes out September, October, the season has ended. The units were there April 1st, they get an assessed a tax bill. They get the bill after the season ends. They have left, they're like, why do I have to pay? My season already ended.
That makes sense.
That's the long and the short of it.
I move to approve the tax abatements for a total of $7,666.76 as recommended by the finance director.
Second.
Moved in
Just,
second.
just a couple of questions. The police chief is here, I'm wondering, is it illegal to put on boot on
Uh-oh.
on a travel trailer? I mean, some of these things go back to 21, 21, 22, 23, 24.
But isn't the problem is they don't know they're leaving.
They're
So
gone.
Well, I
you can't just
understand
put a
that,
boot on
but
everything.
there's one of them on here that's owes like 5 years worth. I mean, so, second question is, what happens when one of those individuals came for a beach permit?
So the online system does not flag if they've paid their taxes or not. And some of these people did not get beach stickers. If they did get beach stickers, we have phone numbers and email addresses. We've tracked people down that way. But a lot of these people didn't get beach stickers.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Okay, just ask my.
But I said, had the boot question to Keely, I said, we need to invest in boots, like we're gonna be I envisioned myself being the person going knocking on doors. I'm not really the tax collector, so it would be Mike knocking on doors with me.
Even better.
Wow, I didn't see that possibility.
Alright,
Alright, that's all my questions.
Yeah, I don't think we really have a choice about that.
any other questions? Seeing none, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
we
I
have-
moved-
I'd
we
say
already did
We
that.
moved and seconded, all those, sorry, I forgot, all those in favor? 5-0. Discussion and action on proposed changes to the advanced payment policy.
So, we have a policy right now and right now, if you looked at the accounts payable warrant, the very beginning, we have like, I believe it says already paid invoices or something. So those are checks usually for, a lot of times it's to the Secretary of State. So right now, the process is we use a typewriter and we type a check. So I gave you a picture of what my current checks look like. I am almost out of this check stock. And so what we are moving towards is we have started to implement, all my checks are printing on this blank check stock. Once we run it through the printer using our software, it prints out a check, it prints all the lines, it makes it look like an official check. I have special toner that prints the micro line that the bank reads the routing numbers, the account numbers, and it cashes like a check. In order for that check to print from my system, we have to put it in as if it was a warrant. So my AP clerk has to enter a warrant into the system. We have to go through the check run process to print the checks. So my problem is, in order to do that process, if I have to print a Secretary of State check for a motor vehicle report in between warrants like we have. So normally, every time we have a warrant, we'll do the 100 check run. So every 2 weeks, we do the 100 check run. The state likes to get the state reports every week. So at least once a week, we have to manually type a check. What I need your permission is to let me do mini warrants. And because sometimes my town clerk needs her check for the state or something like that, what I'm asking is every Wednesday on the off meeting nights, off meeting weeks, that I do these mini warrants. And I do a check run and we put the warrant into the system, we generate our checks and print them out. You as a board, as part of your warrant, you're gonna get like the mini warrant, so you'll see all the detail like you normally see on the full warrant. And on that cover sheet, we would just do like how you see the school warrant and things like that, the payroll weeks and everything. We just have a number, so you'd see all that broken out on that cover sheet, and we just have you sign on your meeting nights.
Okay, we would just on the following
Yes.
meeting night, we would
Yes.
sign that particular
Yes.
mini warrant.
So instead of signing like you're doing now for the already paid checks, you'd just be signing for my mini warrants plus the big warrant.
Plus the regular one.
Yes.
Okay.
So, these policies, the existing one was adopted May
Yeah.
16, 2000. And then
So-
after that, it says adopted annually.
So it has not been brought to the board in forever, so
Since,
as part of this, would be bringing it back every year, this time of year.
yeah, cause I never remember,
Yes.
yeah, adopted annually, that just didn't happen. And the new one says, adopted annually,
Yeah.
so I presume that the first meeting every September, we're gonna
Yes.
adopt this?
Yeah.
Any other discussion on this?
Yep. I make a, you ready
It's
for the
it's
motion?
kind of, you know, it's one of those things that has to happen.
Yeah, right.
And it's not the best internal control procedure ever, but at least we'll be getting that information separately.
Exactly.
In the years that I've been on the select board, going into my third, I've never even knew that happened. which is scary.
I move to accept the proposed changes to the advance payment policy.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor? 5-0. Next
Thank you.
up, discussion and action on addressing the vital space need requirements for town hall.
Yeah, thank you. I think the board, I tried to provide you some overview briefing with regard to the situation that we find ourselves in. I think it's been very predictable that as our service delivery needs grow, we are absolutely without any space at all here. We're looking at two primary options, and not in any particular order, so when I say one, it's not the one that's recommended or not. The back room downstairs behind Jody's office currently houses vital records, many files from years past, and we have to maintain those. That is on a very nice shelving system, which is easily moved by anyone, just by gently pushing, and you can access the files that you need. We can move those files, dismantle that system, which I know was very expensive at the time when it was purchased, and go out to RFP to build 2 offices in the back of that section. Our challenge would be, where do we store all of the town's vital records? I mentioned about the potential for Connex boxes. I know that there are people who have had experience with those. They are not watertight, they are not varmint proof whatsoever. I do know that they freeze oftentimes in the winter, and then when they start to thaw, there's water leakage inside. Certainly would be a poor choice, in our opinion, for those records that must be maintained many times for life. So the second idea that we have is to look at a quality office trailer, and the one that we're visioning would be 64 by 24. It would allow for up to 4 offices and conference space within it, so that we can move personnel from this building and either move a department or certain personnel into that. And I'm pointing out there because the vision would be to have it along that section of the front of the parking lot, so that we have access to each other.
So right along that, against the grassy,
Against the grass on 109,
right.
not.
Oh, against the grass on 109,
Right,
okay.
because we can grab utility service much easier there.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I have some diagrams of what that would look like if you'd like to pass those around for both interior and exterior views. That is something that we could mobilize relatively quickly. Our need is imminent. You'd have to pull one off. I've got several copies there. Okay.
Yeah, I saw it.
Are there 2 separate things?
There's the interior look and the exterior look.
Oh, okay.
We'll get it back to you.
Okay.
Here we go, we get a picture of it.
I like the exterior's nice.
What is nice about the interior of that structure is that all the walls are movable. So you can confine or develop offices to whatever size may be appropriate. One may need a little more space than the other. You might need a copy room in there or something. Most of the services that we would utilize, we just walk from there into here. Pretty simple, but it would allow us to have positions that need to be compatible with one another. We've looked at the potential of putting people in remote office locations somewhere along Route 1 or in town. I think that breaks the continuity of how we work together. This would allow for a temporary option, as you now will hear soon about the facility study. And depending upon your actions on that, and whether you wish to endorse any type of remodeling or total rebuild of this building and advance that to the voters, we remain nimble to say, we're gonna stay that way, or you choose to do something different, the public supports that. We haven't invested in anything terribly long.
And this would be in lieu of changing the offices downstairs?
It would be.
Okay, so we would save the files in that room?
Files could stay, just to move that filing system, we have a price of $22,000 to dismantle that file system, and then we have nowhere to put the files. The staff needs access to those files, and to put them into boxes anywhere else, I think is a workers' comp claim that would be
and potential damage to the documents, you can't do that.
And the archive system's pretty cool.
It is, it's really great, what we have and what you invested in previous, so that we can maintain that. Office trailers are not ideal, but in this situation, something, this one or a type like this, I think would give us the flexibility. As I shared with you, I very much want to get no occupancy on our attic floor, where we have someone now. I'm not comfortable with that, and I know most people aren't. Tammy is in a position where she's located that is very, very confined. As we bring on our labor and employee relations specialist, that person and Tammy as the HR generalist need to work closely with one another. This gives us the flexibility to do that. And where people are relocated, we don't know yet, but it would be people that are compatible in the work that they do together.
Right.
And maybe two people go into the office where I'm at, or it could be that I definitely want to be one of the people that goes out into the office trailer. I think that's important to do, and maybe with our HR crew, it could be with anyone. But I just think it gives us the functionality. Is it ideal? No, but I also think that it signals that we're in dire need for space.
So when you
And
talk
what
about,
does
I'm sorry.
the cost by any chance?
Yeah, the cost is about $65,000 per year to have that, and it does have, obviously, it would be heat, air conditioned, et cetera. It would give us a location that in a facility, I think that we would be proud of. We know that people spend 8 or 10 hours a day in their respective areas. And we can do a multi-year lease at that price. We know it'll be 2 to 3 years, even if we were to go out and seek funding to do something with this building. It's probably going to be a bond initiative. So it gives us the flexibility to do that.
How much does it cost to buy one of these?
I haven't explored that, John. Certainly something we can do. I'm a little bit in a time crunch. I could look to see what it would cost and where we could buy it from. And certainly we'll do that.
Just curious, because
Sure.
even if the voters went through and supported, doing something different with the town hall, it doesn't seem like that's gonna happen in 3 years' time, that's gonna
It's
get.
probably 3.
What's that?
It would probably be at least 3.
Well, I mean, 3 years from now, I could see it probably working through, just the preliminary planning, but then you have to go through construction.
Sure.
You have to go through all that, so if we needed it longer than 3 years, and we had a 3-year lease, at what point does it become more cost effective to just buy it?
And maybe I can talk to this company too about a lease with a purchase option too. That may be something which might work very effectively.
When I was in elementary school in Florida, my school got renovated and the classrooms moved into these things, and they're a lot nicer than you'd expect.
Yeah, they actually work pretty well. I love the fact that the walls are movable, the doorways are movable, so there's a lot of interior portability on how we can do that. So it's, in my opinion, it's the best option we have right now, where time is of essence, to be able to do something to get folks where they should be.
So if you were, what would be the time frame you'd expect for this?
Yeah, so what I would ask is if you would be willing to advance this, cause it would be funds that you'd have to allocate to a public hearing on the 16th of September, your next meeting date, I believe that's correct. At which point, if you were so moved, you could allocate the funds and we could make the agreement. Meanwhile, doing the research that John suggested, we could make the agreement. I think I could have that in there within 2 weeks.
What fund is this coming out of?
Jody, what fund do you want this to come from? It'll be out of one of our
Already in
emergency
budget,
contingency
right?
funds.
Yeah, we were gonna use one of either the emergency facility repair,
Yeah.
one of those lines.
Okay.
I believe it's emergency facility repair line.
And there's enough in there to
Yes.
go,
Yeah.
to meet the remainder of the fiscal year?
It is.
So you want a public, you want a
I think you'd have to have a
public
public hearing to be able to
first,
get
and
on
then
the-
we would take the motion to do that.
Correct.
But you don't need anything for, we can't do a motion before that for anything.
No, only
Okay.
tonight to
Alright,
move it to a
just to
public
make sure
hearing.
that was clear, okay. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we move forward to a public hearing on September 16th at 208 Sanford Road in the Littlefield Meeting Room at 6 p.m. to address the vital space need requirements at the town hall.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Discussion, action, updates, personnel and committee assignments, resignations and issues.
I just had one, let's see, Officer Abigail Gilman has submitted her resignation. We're very sad that has happened, and our hope is that she will be able to rejoin us in a defined period. Not sure when she wants to be able to rejoin us, but she had some personal matters that came up, so she had to step away. But only because she wants to address those. I think she would be someone very interested and welcome to come back to our department.
Good. We have the resignation of Vanessa Diaz-Galman from the Budget Review Committee and the resignation of Andrew Case from the Harbor Advisory Committee.
Okay, I move to accept the resignations.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor? 5-0. All right, I might resign before I even read all these. All right.
Wow.
Discussion and action.
Can I make a suggestion? When you get down to the first 125, just say that the following from the Harbor Founders Park Community Center, and then just read the names.
Oh, I see, yes. All right, yeah, I got
Okay.
you.
Save you a
On
lot of
number
words.
6 down.
Yeah, right.
All right. I'll try to remember that, you can correct me. You're very good at that. 25 from various library users to the Wells Public Library. $46 from the various library users to the Wells Public Library. $450 from Imogene Finley and Declan, representing proceeds from a fundraiser they held for the Wells Harbor Shellfish Lab. $531 from various donors to the town of Wells for the Shellfish Lab. $63 from Jason Carter to the town of Wells for the We Are Wells Fund. $125 to the town of Wells for the Founders Park Community Center from the following people: Steph Masoni Stacy, Tracy Moulton, Patricia Webster, Karen Burke, Kate Castle, Carrie Cornish, Susan Colwell, Nathan Cochran, Mary Mulhey, Anna Ingehall, David Cahill, Sarah Martinelli, Karen Tufts, Scott Ramstow, Marsha Lucio, Emily Gallant, Carrie Hogue, Jody Robertson, Jennifer Fitzpatrick, and Thomas Sexton.
I move to accept the generous donations and write letters of thanks to the donors.
Second.
So moved in second, all those in favor? 5-0, thank you.
I just wanna say the picture of the two girls for the
Oh, that was
Shellfish Lab, Suddenly was adorable.
That was
Yeah.
the lemonades?
Yeah, no, they were
Lemonade,
selling
right, yeah.
lemonade and bracelets.
Bracelets.
Oh, that's
Did a
awesome.
great job.
Great.
Next up, we have discussion and action to approve the minutes of the August 19th, 2025 selectmen meeting.
I move for approval of the August 19th, 2025 Selectmen Meeting Minutes.
Second.
Moving to second, all those in favor? 401, Cindy, I abstain. Next up, we have open to the public. We set aside 10 minutes a second time tonight for open to the public. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, move on to the town manager's report.
Having the ability to read the audience, I will speak very quickly. Just a reminder, next Tuesday, September 9th, the board has agreed that they would be willing to have a workshop. 2 topics to discuss: continuation of the short-term rental discussion and a few minutes on on pass fees. Just looking at the fees, so Jody can get an idea of what we need to do next on that. Next week, we hope to do our tax commitment. There's a lot of information about all the work that our lifeguards did, 73 medical aids, 9 rescues, 969 preventative actions, 3 boat rescues, 7 lost and found individuals. The lifeguards actually estimated about 65,300 visitors to the beaches this year, and they did some counting each day, so around 1,100 each day. and I don't wanna shortchange any department, but I will move through this quickly. Paving continues, Coles Hill Road will be resurfaced soon, Perry Oliver is complete with shouldering underway. Forest Lane and Deer Run are also complete. Work has started on Pine Ledge. You're not gonna see a whole lot quite yet, but they've got their tree personnel coming in, so we'll see some of that happening. And a new equipment operator position has been posted. I have made a conditional offer for the labor and employee relations manager, and that offer has been accepted, so some work is being done on their background at this point. Our hope is they'll be able to join us in early October. The library has a number of programs coming up. The teen program begins on September 10th. The Teen Craft Club begins on the 23rd of September. And author Tim Cotton, who will be there to speak on September 9th, and an introduction to genealogy will take place on September 19th. You heard John Lillibridge talk about the upcoming EV show. And the Veterans Committee, and Rebecca's been very busy with those folks. Armed Forces Night Veterans Dinner will take place on Friday, October 3rd, I believe before your game. Veterans Lunch at the Senior Center on Sunday, December 7th. The Veterans Committee is scheduled to meet tomorrow, on Wednesday at 5 p.m. And the Volunteer Appreciation Breakfast is scheduled for October 24th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. More details coming up on that.
Just one question, originally for next Tuesday, we were talking a number of other things we were gonna discuss. What's the status of those?
Yeah, there are many other workshops. I'm just gonna bite these real quick because Leah is available on the 9th.
Okay.
So that continues the short-term rental, and Jody is available for discussion to beach passes. I know we've got a workshop that we need to look at on the cameras and several other things, not
Yeah,
forgotten.
Those are on the table.
Absolutely,
Okay,
yeah,
that
not
was my
forgotten,
only
just
question.
try to find some time.
All right, next up we have select board comments, any subcommittee reports?
I had something I wanted to share, so I read it, and I'll keep it brief because I know it's late, but I think this is important. I read a news article a few weeks ago, talking about Scarborough's struggles with LD 2003 and the new one, what is it, 1829, I think Leah said. And I reached out to the vice chair over there, John Anderson. He was cited in the article, and I had a nice conversation with him. They'd invited me out, but I had a work commitment up to their meeting in the Greater Portland Regional group that they have up there. I wasn't able to make it, but John sent me some notes from that and their thoughts, and I was reading through it, and I'm gonna share it with all of you. I'll send it over. But when you read through it, it details a lot of the very same concerns that our community has. They are working right now. I believe they're going to reach out to our regional group at York County. But I think that it might be wise to maybe have Mike reach out to their town manager, and maybe we could get some level of coordination and get in on that. Probably what I'll do is the email that John sent me, I'll send it to Mike. Mike, if you don't mind, just send it to the rest of the board. That'd be great. But some good notes in there, so.
Oh, good.
Good work,
I knew
John.
there had to be other people that were thinking about it.
Yeah, John and I talked quite a bit on it. Like I said, when he was talking, it was very, very similar concerns to what we're hearing in our community from our community members, so.
I do have one thing, I wanna thank Mike for sending out the updates that you do, that what's happening, because because sometimes everything gets very busy. And all of a sudden you think, wow, I wonder what happened with that, or what happened, and that really helps to keep on track with what's going on in the town, so I do appreciate you sending
I'll
those
take that and
updates.
keep updating that. so
Yes,
you're well
thank you,
advised.
really appreciate that.
Anything else?
Nothing from me.
Just real quick, and I apologize, I should have got it before, but it wasn't good news, so, the passing of Glennis Moody.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I know many people here knew her.
Yes, thank you. And Dar
Services,
Littlefield, Dar Littlefield.
Excuse me?
Dar Littlefield.
Yeah,
You know,
yes, I did hear that.
You know, that, I mean,
Two.
these are wonderful people that participated in life in Wells
Mm.
for their whole life.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Thank you. Just real quick, I'll just, in high school school's open today, just be careful. I know we get used to going by, around, driving around, but buses and all that stuff, be very careful, please. I know the police are out there patrolling. And please obey the speed limits around the schools. Open very nicely today. We have a lot of things going on. Just real quick, cross-country starts tomorrow with a meet, and then girls soccer Thursday night, football Friday night, boys soccer Saturday morning, and then we keep going. So
And it begins.
and it begins. It was a nice day today around the campuses. It looks nice. Hope we're all good.
Isn't Tim's tomorrow the invitational with the school, all the school buses will be down at the harbor? I think it's the invitational over at what's I say it? Lot Home Farm.
The Lord Home Farm, yes,
Home Farm
the
Invitational.
big cross-country meet, yeah,
Cross-country.
yeah, that's tomorrow.
It's like 10 schools coming.
Just to clarify, you said the the volunteer appreciation breakfast? Is there a difference between that one and what's happening on September 11th?
There is, that's
Okay,
the employee appreciation dinner. So we try to recognize annually all the volunteers that serve the community. That's gonna be in October. We're going to recognize our employees at a dinner, and I believe Rebecca has sent a notification out. We haven't,
RSVP was
Can we cook at one of those, yeah, we've cooked at those before too.
That was a different, that was a.
Nobody wants us doing that, Kathy, trust me,
No,
the
I
catered
know,
food was
well, I
much better.
can tell,
That was
you
a-
know, they didn't even.
I think that was an employee luncheon over here.
so we'll be recognizing employees who have hit certain milestones. We really haven't done that for a number of years now. And so everything from 1 through as much as 40 years, I'm understanding, we'll be addressing.
Cool. All right. We're now gonna enter executive session, to discuss applicants to various boards and committees pursuant to 1 MRS 4056A.
I move to enter into executive session to discuss the applicants to various boards and committees pursuant to 1 MRS subsection 4056A.
Second.
Move to second, all those in favor?
Thank you, guys.
Rebecca? Yes. Can I